Testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3. My name. Samuel Ronan, President of the United States of America.
All right, so now we're back. All right. By the way, if you're just tuning in, it would not be a stream with Ronan if there wasn't at least one technical difficulty or me not being able to speak the King's English. All right, so actually, let's do Pop Culture's intro again. It's Thursday night, and the mood is right. Gonna have some fun. He's gonna show you how it's done. TGIR, thank God it's Ronan. I like that, by the way. Anna, you need to copy and paste that shit. That is getting saved. I love that. That is friggin' awesome. But hello, welcome to the stream. Hello, Anna. And I guess then my introduction and welcome to the stream didn't work either. We have new followers. Robin0608, Dominique8912, Owen EVGA, and Ann B. Dan. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the follow, or welcome to the channel? Because they may not necessarily be on right now. And we got Blake from the His House. Awesome. Haven't seen you in a bit. Welcome to the stream. Excuse me. Can we have like a reverse takeover of my city where instead of Trump and his goons, liberals from Austin come in? Buddy, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm pretty sure we will be handling that. 1,000 viewers, 1,000 subs, you know, same diff. If people invest in the channel, we can invest in the platform, which means we can invest in... Oh, that's right. I had to hide my prop because I didn't want contractors coming into the Oval Office and seeing props on display. So, 1 second. The sooner that we can get started with the platform building and the popularity, the sooner we can build the platform, the sooner that we can do the revolution. Oui, oui. Titi croissant. Or, for those of you who are more Latin in their revolution, as soon as we make it to the 1,000 subscribers. Okay, maybe I can't do that. Throat can't handle too much telenovela. I gotta work on that. I'm sorry, guys. Gotta work on that. I'm already gonna be dipping into the water, it seems. Yikes. Oh, that's not great. We're gonna need a break today. Because I'm gonna be going through that. And fun fact, this is a real cigar. Unlike this, which is a prop rifle with prop accessories. I was working from home today, and I had myself a little bit of Che Guevara and some cerveza whilst working from home, and, well, needless to say, that'll dry you out, so. No telenovela voice when I smoke cigars, apparently. Let's see. You feel published, Pop Culture? You should. You absolutely should. Blake, with My City Sucks. I was just basically harassed by the police for doing homework at my college. Outstanding! We are entering into Nazi Germany right before they invaded Poland levels of fuckery. He was like, hey, what's up? What you doing? Waiting on your ride? No, officer, I'm doing my fucking homework. Get your snout, oink, oink, out of my goddamn business. So, any tips for dealing with the police as a brown person? Well, as it turns out, I'm 19% brown. I am 19% Filipino. Now, obviously, there is some glare off of this skin, so clearly I'm not that brown, but I do feel the struggle there. That persistent dude who helped Team Red win many states, including PA, said he was stopped by the cops who said he fit the description of someone they were looking for. Scott Pressler. Nah, Cubans still aren't legal in America. I mean, these are, I think, from Nicaragua, though. So, I mean, it's still Latin America. It counts. It wasn't him, though, but he still got stopped. It depends on the surroundings. I'm very nice when I could get shot, and I'm a bitch when I know they are less likely to do something. You need Dominican cigars. Hey, listen, you want to pay for them? You go right ahead. But for now, we doing the broke boy smoke, because if we can afford Davidoff's, we are doing something really, really good. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, maybe I'm due for a haircut. I don't know. I was actually debating getting the haircut, getting the nice, skin to six fade, but, I'm also debating on if I should just let it grow out again and really, really, just go all in on the Che Guevara revolutionary. Hell, I am white, and I think y'all have seen my pictures with long hair. I mean, if that isn't Jesus, I don't fucking know. I mean, I need a bit of a tan, but still, it might go a long way to getting Republicans to be like, wait a minute, this white guy's talking about communism. I mean, socialism. But he looks like Jesus, and he's also quoting the Bible better than me. I'm very confused, and he's very pro-gun. I'm very confused right now. Keep them on their toes, is what I'm thinking. So now people get involved with immigration with no experience whatsoever, and all because people dropped out of handling immigration cases. Yeah. Fun fact, not that I am personally going to join ICE for the 50 grand, largely because you still have to go through the training, and I'm sure there are some terms and conditions, like you actually have to be with them for a year, let alone pass the training. But that I genuinely think that is an opportunity that leftists should seriously consider, because, okay, fine. If we walk up to an ICE agent with cigars, right, and cigars and rays, they might get a little jittery, right? If we walk up to them with props, they might get a little concerned. But if we're the ones wearing the uniforms and just dragging ass, just driving around cities all day long instead of, being Nazis, that would be a very strong way to disrupt the Nazi behavior of the ICE Nazis. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's going to be successful, because they're going to do background checks, they're going to do social media checks, and you have to pass the training, which will require some level of fitness. And I'm not saying political folks aren't in shape, but, not all of us are, but we would have to pass the training. And then we would have to hope that enough of us flooded the ICE training that we could actually get paired with one another. But that'll be its own risk, because we would have to play the game. We'd be like, yeah, so do you really think we should be terrorizing children and teenagers? No. Are you actually a lefty? We should just drive around town blaring mariachi music, shouldn't we? Yes, we should, right? It's a risk. Any revolution that involves infiltration of the enemy has its share of risk, but can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. Now, that also being said, there's the other options of general strike. So I think if we can infiltrate ICE, for one, also just flood the primaries, two, and I mean Republican or Democrat, and then 3, push for general strikes broadly across the country, I think we have a very good chance of stopping this Nazi shit cold in its tracks. But I'm going to need you to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your aunts and your uncles that Samuel Ronan, President of the United States, is streaming Tuesday through Thursday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, and that you don't need a Twitch account in order to follow him. Who said that? Let's see. What did I miss here? So now, Sam, it's not just ICE recruitment. This is immigration law interpretation. No, you're absolutely right. It's insulting because you get turned down for entry-level jobs because they want you to get experience first. We are becoming more clown showage by the day. No, 100%. You're not wrong. I'm only saying that we should not take anything off the table. That's all I'm saying. Waste ICE's time and resources while working for ICE. Literally, if you go to an ICE location and say you want to sign up, they still have to at least put you through the motions, which means that is one less spot in that class for some actual wannabe Nazi to go into. Because they can only do classes of 30, 40, or maybe even 50. I don't know what their class sizes are. But if we could flood their training, we could also undermine them that way. I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm not encouraging people to do it and put themselves at risk. I am saying it is a way to waste their time. You are banned from showing your guns like that because you're going to drive Anna wild. Well, we wouldn't want to... Oh, sorry, I got this stretch in my back. I got a little, Right, we wouldn't want to do that. Make it 2 hours. I can doom scroll in the bathroom. Well, first I'd actually have to have muscles to show off. I can't be Hassan sitting in a hot tub. My bad, folks. I'm sorry, I just don't have the same sex appeal. I got a little bit of this going, and I can't grow a full beard. But what I do have are revolutionary props and prop accessories. Okay. But yes, back to Blake's point. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. And yes, times are becoming much more dangerous for, 20% of the fucking population. 65 million Latino Americans. Latino, like straight up Latino Americans. Either born and raised here or are in some sort of immigrant status. 20% of the population. More than black people. That's actually surprising. I always thought that the demographic in America was white people in the majority, followed by black people, followed by Latino, followed by Asian, followed by whatever else comes after that. But it's actually Latino that have 20%, and then it's, I believe African Americans were 15%? Percentage of African Americans in U.S. population. 14.4%. So, very surprising statistics, in my opinion. According to Wikipedia 2021 estimate, it was 59.3% white, 18.9% Hispanic or Latino, 12.6% black, and 5.9% Asian, and then everything else, right? And I don't mean to say everything else is like it doesn't matter, but, significant figures, right? So, we are terrorizing the largest demographic next to white in America. We are terrorizing them as completely as the Nazis terrorized the Jews in Germany. Then the next largest demographic is the former demographic that was enslaved for nearly 400 years in this country's history. So yeah, we're doing great things in this country. Are we great again? Are we doing things great now? Because terrorizing 1/3 of the population for not being white is insane. Absolutely fucking insane. French version Revolution 2. Man, I really wish. I'm going to work on this background because I do like... Oh, whoops. Was in the wrong window. I do like this background. But the problem with this background is now everything's red. Except for where it's bleeding from the sunlight. Which I can fix that. So the sunlight is shining upon us, right? But this, I think, is a little too bland. I think we need this flag kind of superimposed right behind me, or maybe off to a side. And then we can have the American flag, the POTUS flag, and maybe a Le Guillotine somewhere in the background too. So I gotta play around with that. I just haven't really had the time. I do like this. I want this flag, right? By the way, that is the symbol of our revolution here. We got peace. We got resistance, and we got welcoming friendship. And then these lines, the stripes of the flag, are the Ronan Statement, the sogenannte official unifying statement of the Ronan campaign. For those of you who aren't familiar, there it is. So I want to make this screen pop a little bit. Now, if you also notice this little symbol here, the seal in the top right-hand corner, let's see if I can bring it up a little bit. I don't think I can without moving everything. Well, hold on. What if I just...
Are you here for Tracy?
What if I did this? And then did...
We ordered a limo, not a limo.
Is it this? All right.
We do that too.
So the seal. Seal of the American people united against tyranny. That's what that seal is, and I want to embrace this revolutionary concept, right? I want us to see that, yes, I am the president, but I stand for the American people, and that we stand united against tyranny. We fight for peace, we will resist, but we will welcome you with open hands so long as it's against tyranny. So, that's the symbolism. I hope everybody understands, enjoys, blah, blah, blah. But I gotta make, this is just too much red, I think. It's just a touch too much red. Alright. So, the police line I hate the most is, so here's the deal. Yeah, here's the deal, motherfucker. You're a public servant, and you need to get the fuck out of my face. Biracial, 25% black and 75% white. No Latino Americans are the fastest growing minority because we fuck up their home country, so they move here. Yeah, no, and it's also interesting because Spanish is the largest, or the second largest, no, it's the largest, I believe. Most spoken language globally. Oh, it's English. So it still is English. And then Spanish becomes second, and then Mandarin Chinese is third. So we are demonizing the second most spoken language on Earth and the cultures that it represents. Like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Saying we're doing great, which is a two-party thing, is different than actually being great. All we have is stupid narrative brainwashing. True. We absolutely do have entirely too much brainwashing. You thought I was a dem sock? Good one. I keep having to explain that to Latinos for the previous something or another. During the 2028 campaign, you should get hats that have the peace, resistance, and welcoming symbol on it. Have the hats made in a non-controversial place, like those hats from... You're right. No, absolutely. And we do have Ronan swag as well, which can be found here. What do we have? We have Ronan for president, the taco shirt. Ronan is the right way, which has a QR code on the back. And then Ronan for POTUS, which also has a QR code on the back. So yes, I do need to add shirts or swag gear that has the symbol. Anna, please do me the favor, per favor, of reminding me to make swag on our campaign page that has the symbol on it. Let's make sure we have the CC going on. All right. Let's see. Didn't you know that there was a Supreme Court decision? Police don't have to serve or protect. Oh, I'm well aware that the Supreme Court has ruled multiple times in favor of law enforcement that they can not only just do whatever they fucking please, they can enforce laws that they think exist and charge you for resisting or disobeying orders, even if it is later found out that that law didn't in fact exist, and you still go to prison for that shit. So yeah, we have been living in a fascist state. We just weren't aware of it as keenly as we are today with martial law in D.C. I think Spanish is spoken in the most countries as the first language. That could very well be true. So, to your point, Blake, about Ronan for governor or New York City mayor, one, I think I'd have to be a resident of New York City for like 2 years before I'm eligible. New York City has some very strict rules about residency requirements. Not that we couldn't figure that out. Not that I can wink well. I'm sorry I'm not Kelly Clarkson, okay? Her wink is devastating. Devastating. Now, as far as being governor, realistically, it's not impossible to run for governor by May 26th, 2026 as a Republican. It would not be impossible to do that. The problem is we do not have the $30 million that it would require. So, and it's not $30 million so I can buy ads and use NPG Van. I'm like, the $30 million is one, so I can travel to all 88 counties. And yes, the state of Ohio actually does have 88 counties. Let that fucking sink in. But it would also be to hire staff in all of those counties. And some of those counties are much more populous than others. So some counties would need multiple, I guess, offices, if you will. So I think you would need around 100 offices, and you'd want at least 5 full-time staffers in each of those offices. So, I mean, and you would want to pay them a reasonable amount of money. At first, when I considered this, it was around $50,000, but now that's no longer livable. So say $75,000 times 5 times 100, that's $37,500,000 for a year. But so if we divide that by 2, it's $18.75 million, which is still $18.75 million more dollars than I currently have, unfortunately. Now, sure, if we got a shit ton of volunteers, but then that would still be 5 times, well, that's 500 people, 500 volunteers that we would need. And we don't even have 500 viewers, let alone 500 followers, which is fine. Like, I'm not complaining. It takes time to build a movement. That is what it is. But it is also the reality. I'd have to win the lottery. Universe, give me the lottery winning numbers. So, there is that. We all love Kelly because Kelly's fucking awesome. She really is. Oh, you haven't watched the Kelly Clarkson show, Anna. If you watch the Kelly Clarkson show, you're going to get 2 things out of it. First, you are going to get the Kelly Clarkson wink. Happens every episode. And you're going to get a free concert at the end of it where she sings. And both are immaculate. I don't know why you said... Oh, Anna La Diosa should run, yeah. Her anxiety could never. No, it's true. I've actually told Anna that she should be the face of this movement. Like, a Latina running for office right now to fight for the revolution and who has family who actually did fight against an honest-to-God dictator. Anna is eminently more qualified. She has way more credentials than I do. But she wants to be my Doug Stamper. So, you know what? I'm not going to turn that down. Everybody needs a Doug Stamper. So, by all means, right? I'll just be the pretty face of the movement. And Anna can be the brains of it. That's fine. I'm not offended. Leia for president? Hey, if we do things right by 2029, Leia for president is well within the realm of possibility. Jesus has magical powers from his daddy in heaven. Well, as we discovered and discussed in our stream, the fiery sword that was used to guard the Garden of Eden, fiery sword, just saying, Magical Sky Daddy might have been a Jedi. Or Sith. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? The jury's out on whether or not God is good. Because look at the world that has fought in God's name for the past 2,000 years. And the genocide that is being perpetrated by Zionists in the name of God and the God-granted land. I'm thinking if God was a Jedi, he was probably Sith. Or if he wasn't Sith, he was definitely a gray Jedi. Even the perfect man had anxiety. I don't know that Jesus had anxiety. He had... Never mind. I watched the concert part, but I hate the celeb interviews. Yeah, well, I mean, Kelly Clarkson is feel-good entertainment, right? Every time Kelly covers someone's song, she then owns that song. It's true. If I was an artist and I was watching her show, I would be so nervous if she was going to do a cover of my song, because that is no longer my song. That is a Kelly Clarkson song. Because she has such a powerful voice, too, she could make Row, Row Your Boat a fucking top 10 chart topper. She's got it. I think the lottery should offer more than $4 if you get the Powerball right. It's the freaking Powerball. It's power. It should have more than value than double your $2. Well, that's gambling, folks. As far as we know, Kelly is not problematic. And we hope that stays the case. So she's a bit of a shitlib. I wouldn't call that as problematic. I think she's just trying to be a good person, and for right now, being a Democrat is a good person in the eyes of normies. Are there any good Siths? There can be only one. I mean, to the victor goes the spoils, right? I mean, the Punisher is a hero, and by all rights, he is not a nice person at all, but he's considered a hero. It depends on how you define... Oh, yep, Anna. We share that one brain cell. Love it. God, why me? Speaking to himself. Trinitarian shenanigans. True. Did he say that? I thought he said, God, forgive them, for they do not know. I didn't think he said, God, why me? I mean, I haven't read the Bible in a while, so who knows? It really does suck when you're this famous singer and your ex winds up with someone who worked for you. Yeah, it do be like that. Now imagine that. You're married to Kelly freaking Clarkson, and then you drop the ball. And she's still Kelly Clarkson, and you're some piece of garbage. Like, what? Talk about being the most hated person on earth. Next to BB and Trump and JD and... people who are supposed to be hated. You know who I love and is very politically based? Susan Sarandon. I actually hear that, yes. Susan is based. She's been on the right side for quite some time. Good for her. Kelly's ex died. You know what that's called? Karma. At the Mount of Olives. He did? Okay, well... Last time I was in church, it got a little hot in there, so I kind of skedaddled before they got to it. And cried on a rock that bled. Damn. Jesus is a pussy. Wait a minute. JK, if Jesus Christ is the way, the light, and part of the Holy Trinity, then... Wait a second. Is that the Catholic Church just now? Wait a second. They think Susan Sarandon cost them the 2016 and 2020 election. No, being pro-genocide and establishment neoliberalism is what lost them those two elections. Jesus bled through his eyes because he was so stressed out knowing what they were going to do to him the next day. Damn. On Holy Thursday. Well, damn. That sounds pretty metal. Bleeding through your eyes. The only other being that can do that is like a specific type of lizard that does it in self-defense. Jesus is a reptilian confirmed? Damn. I'm going to lose so many supporters by bagging on the Catholic Church. Damn, Anna. This is a good segue into culture wars of stoking it that way. If you say prayer's not enough, you're anti-prayer. Yeah, well, here's the thing, too. I'm not anti-religion. I'm not even anti, like, Christianity, per se, right? Like, even though I'm kind of towing the line of blasphemy or dancing on it, I guess. But what really bothers me is the organization, the global organization of religion, and the fact that this organization exists, claims to espouse virtues such as feeding the sick, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and clothing the poor, and yet worldwide, wherever there's a Catholic church or a Christian denomination, those are usually the groups that are demonizing the impoverished and the sick and the hungry and the needy the most. So, yeah, human infrastructure wrapping itself in the holy book being used to oppress really rubs me the wrong way. In Spain, they joke a lot about religion, and it's one of the most Catholic countries in the world. Right. And like most Jewish people make fun of the Torah, too, because, like, we've always been stubborn. I mean, have you read this thing? We just don't learn a single lesson. So, yeah, no. It do be like that. So, I think we can get into the stream now. We do have quite a bit to cover, and now we have a little bit less time to go for it. So we'll start off with the headlines, and then we'll go into some of the hot topic items here. The current VP is accusing people who say prayer is not enough of attacking people who pray. And then he said the ones in church died while praying, which proves the point. It can't stop any lunatic. And he said God works in mysterious ways. Like, dude, that's like saying God is cool for letting that happen. Right. And the mysterious ways is just a cop-out. It just is a cop-out. A Tupac video? Damn. Wait a second. What? Tupac called out Trump in 92? This guy fucking has precognition. What a man. Oh boy, speaking of terrible things to be discussing. All right, let's jump into it so people can join us.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Nadine
Normally
Shea.
Amy Goodman is the one.
A column of Israeli tanks pushed further into the outskirts of Gaza City overnight, shelling Palestinian homes and prompting terrified residents to flee. The offensive came as Israeli attacks across the Gaza Strip killed at least 17 people, while medical workers reported 4 more deaths from famine and malnutrition over the past 24 hours, including 2 children. That brings
so hold on, how many just
the
died
total
from
nutrition
famine?
of people, while medical workers reported 4 more deaths from famine and malnutrition over the past 24
And
hours,
2 of which were children.
including 2 children. That brings the total number of starvation-related deaths in Gaza to 317. This comes...
So the starvation deaths have been going on for about a week now, 2 weeks now, and they're already multiplying. And Israel continues to attack Palestinians with literal fucking tanks. Like, this was as of yesterday, last night. This is... I don't know how people can hear this and think that Israel is in any way defending itself. I just really, really don't understand that, considering they're the only ones with an active military and weapons of war. And they are starving a population. Like, that's not self-defense. You cannot defend yourself by starving someone to death. That's just not how that works.
As new research published in The Lancet finds nearly a third of outpatients treated by the medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières in its Gaza field hospitals were children under the age of 15. MSF warns that explosive weapons designed to be used in open battlefields are increasingly being used to target Palestinians in urban areas.
Which is a war crime. Now, I don't understand this about Democracy Now! Or most of, even Al Jazeera. You say the thing that is happening, which is clearly a war crime, but you say the thing that is happening and you don't immediately follow that up by saying, which is a war crime. I don't understand why journalists are not following through by saying using explosive shells in urban areas, which is a war crime, continues unabated. Like, I don't understand how that's not happening.
At the United Nations, 14 of the Security Council's 15 members issued a joint statement Wednesday calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, the release of all hostages held by
And who was the one that didn't call for it? America.
Hamas and other groups, a surge of humanitarian aid, and for Israel to immediately and unconditionally lift all restrictions on aid delivery. Only the United States opposed the statement.
Of course they did.
Guyanese diplomat Trishula Persod spoke to reporters, flanked by other UN ambassadors demanding an end to Israel's siege.
We note that at least 41,000 children are at heightened risk of death from malnutrition between now and June 2026. This is a man-made crisis. The use of starvation as a weapon of war is clearly prohibited under international humanitarian law. Famine in Gaza must be stopped immediately.
In California,
I mean, enough said. It is clearly prohibited in international law, and literally no fucking person from the news or from other countries are clearly stating this. And the fact that people are only slowly amping up the rhetoric to condemn it is going to be far too little too late. They said that tens of thousands of children are going to starve to death by June 2026. And quite frankly, those numbers are going to be significantly higher. Significantly higher.
California, police arrested 138 peaceful protesters Wednesday as they occupied the...
Hold on.
Famine in Gaza must be stopped immediately.
In California, police arrested 138 peaceful protesters Wednesday as they occupied the lobby of Senator Alex Padilla's offices in San Francisco.
So, now we have California perpetuating tyranny, oppression, and fascism by arresting 138 peaceful protesters who were occupying a public space, the office or the lobby of a senator. And again, nobody calls this shit out. If you are peacefully protesting and getting arrested for that, then you don't have the First Amendment right to protest. And if we do believe you have the First Amendment right to protest, then why isn't every single news network under the sun condemning this shit? I am finding it extremely hard to believe that every single one of these news networks see the violations of our rights and just are going to be silent. And if they are going to be silent, then they are complicit. And that's what really bothers me, is the complicity of all this shit. We have the First Amendment right to protest. We should be able to resist arrest. We should be able to refuse arrest. We should be able to de-arrest people who are protesting peacefully. Because arresting somebody for exercising their First Amendment right, the person doing the arresting is the criminal. Yes, they might be armed with these non-prop versions of the prop, but that doesn't change the fact that they are in the wrong. And it needs to be upheld. And we need to start upholding it. Homan had this to say. Criminals have been wearing masks for a long time. I mean, I saw groups like Antifa commit thousands of crimes for the past few years wearing masks. No one complained about it. The ICE officers need the masks because their families are being doxxed. Like, there is no comparison, right? One group is trying to resist tyranny and oppression. The other group are Nazis. And public officials shouldn't be able to cover their faces because they are public officials, right? Oh, wait, no, some of them are bounty hunters. That's right, because we're hiring bounty hunters and paying them $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000 per immigrant that they kidnap and attempt to traffic. If we did have the right to protest, you wouldn't have had Jodie Sweetin being manhandled by the police when she joined a protest. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, we need to start standing up for our rights. We need to literally say, no, you cannot arrest us. We have the right to be here. Arrest them. Bring your own handcuffs. Arrest those motherfuckers. Like, If they're going to arrest you and charge you with felonies anyway, then go all in. If you're going to get a felony charge anyway, arrest the cop. And then what? And then what? Continue protesting while they're there angry. Exactly. They shouldn't be covering their faces. They shouldn't be acting like Nazis either.
To demand an end to U.S. arms shipments to Israel. Among those arrested were rabbis, spiritual leaders, and descendants of Holocaust survivors. Elsewhere, Jewish Voice for Peace held protests in the lobby of a Sacramento hotel where Senator Padilla was attending a conference, and outside Padilla's offices in San Diego. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, dozens of Jewish peace activists held an hours-long sit-in protest in the offices of California's other senator, Adam Schiff. Last month, Senators Padilla and Schiff voted against a resolution sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders and backed by 24 members of the Democratic caucus that seeks to block arms sales to Israel.
So here's the thing, right? We know that our government is filled to the brim with Zionists. And I have my issues with Bernie Sanders trying to play both sides of the Israel... I don't even... controversy. Because it's not a... Israel's committing genocide. But Bernie Sanders constantly says that Israel has the right to defend itself. Yet, he's also constantly pushing forward to stop arms trades and this, that, and the other. It's really annoying that he is trying to play both sides of the coin. He doesn't want to not be seen as a Zionist, but he also doesn't want to not be seen as a pro-genociding sociopath. And the fact that the Democrats are too weak to actually follow through on their on those directions is pretty fucking telling.
A Russian missile and drone attack on Kyiv overnight killed at least 15 people, including 4 children. It was the deadliest attack on the Ukrainian capital in weeks. Russian drones also hit Ukraine's energy infrastructure in several regions, leaving more than 100,000 Ukrainian homes without power.
See, you got war crimes in this thing too. Russia just attacked a fucking civilian center and then tried to attack infrastructure to try and make it seem like it was an accident. It's like, did the entire world wake up 5 years ago and decide, you know what we're going to choose? World War II style fascism and violation of the Geneva Conventions. Like, let's just fuck off all of these laws and progress that we've made as human beings, and let's just throw that all out the fucking window.
This comes as Ukrainian drones have also been striking Russian oil refineries, leading to surging oil prices and fuel shortages in Russia. Meanwhile, Ukraine has acknowledged that Russian forces have captured 2 villages in the eastern region of Dnipro for the first time in 3.5 years of war. One Ukrainian official told the BBC that this is the first Russian attack on such a large scale in the region. It came as President Trump has been trying to broker a ceasefire agreement between Russia and Ukraine. On Wednesday, the Kremlin said that it will not accept NATO troops stationed in Ukraine as part of any ceasefire deal. U.S. and Russian officials discussed energy deals during recent peace talks.
So, the fact that Trump is trying to spearhead all this shit is laughable, because Trump has clearly been a puppet for Putin and Russia since 2016. So, like, how are we even supposed to believe that any of this showboating is real? And the fact that they're reporting on it seriously is laughable.
To end the war in Ukraine. That's according to Reuters, which reports the discussions took place during U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff's trip to Moscow earlier this month, as well as during the Trump-Putin-Alaska summit on August 15th. One of the deals would involve ExxonMobil re-entering Russia's Sakhalin-1 oil and gas project. Exxon left Russia shortly after it attacked Ukraine in 2022, which prompted a wave of Western sanctions against Russia. The Wall Street Journal is also reporting that Exxon's CEO has discussed the company's return to Russia with President Trump in recent weeks.
So they're failing to negotiate an actual ceasefire or truce between Ukrainians and Russians, but are succeeding in getting big oil to make billions of dollars hand in hand with Russia. Do you see how that is a little bit contradictory? how that might not be the same thing that they're going for, how one of these things is completely unlike the other? Do we not see that?
This comes as President Trump has hit India with tariffs of 50%, citing India's imports of Russian oil. In Minnesota, a shooter opened
Which, again, that is also contradictory. You're trying to make a deal with Russia on two different fronts, and then you tariff India for working with the country you're trying to make a deal with on two different fronts. Like, that doesn't make any damn sense. It's literally like Trump is being led by the nose across every single sector and across every single region and doing what he is told for each of those individual areas. And none of them make sense. They are all for individual interests. It's ridiculous.
At a Catholic school in South Minneapolis Wednesday, killing 2 children and injuring 17 people. The shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the scene after firing through the windows at students who were sitting in pews in the church. This is Weston Holsney, a 5th grader who described watching a friend get shot in the back. He spoke to the local TV station Fox 9.
Shot in the back. He's in the hospital right now. It was super scary because, like, we've never practiced it in the church. We've only practiced it in the main school, so we really didn't know what to do. My friend, he was like laying on top of me, like making sure I was safe, and he got hit. So that was really brave of him.
And you have a neck on your neck?
Yeah, that was, I don't even know what it's from. Kind of looks like debris or something.
So, in America, in a Catholic school, we teach children, from the word out of the children's mouth, that they do and practice active shooter drills. But they don't practice active shooter drills from the pews themselves, where you do your prayer. At the same time, we have an active shooter shooting into classrooms, and the thing that is being talked about is the fact that this shooter happened to be trans. Not anything else other than that they happen to be trans. And yet we still aren't talking about healthcare. We aren't talking about mental health. And we aren't talking about firearms regulation, although this is a prop. So it's infuriating to me that children have to go through military survival training, SEER training. Yes, that is SEER training. If you have to do survive, evade, reconnaissance, and escape. Or maybe the evade and escape are switched. But it doesn't really fucking matter because fucking 5th graders are learning this shit. But we're okay with that as a society. Instead of, I don't know, dealing with the actual problem, which is mental health, propaganda, and the fact that firearms, although this is a prop, are extremely readily accessible with no accountability whatsoever. And we have hundreds of active shootings every single fucking year. The only country in the world that has hundreds of active shootings a year. And we're not the only country that has guns or whose civilian population is allowed access to guns. But we're the only ones who choose to allow our children to get massacred by weapons of war, by sociopaths with no ramifications whatsoever. But now, because one shooter, 3 out of the over 4,000 shooters that we've had, was trans, now all of a sudden, all of this anti-trans rhetoric is just the number one thing in the news. And these journalists are parroting that propaganda. They are perpetuating it. They are aiding and abetting. This isn't a trans revolution of violence against Christian folks. It just fucking isn't. It is a very unfortunately disturbed individual who decided to open fire on children. Now, also of note, it was that this person was white. But nobody wants to talk about that. And nobody wants to talk about the fact that 98.9% of all active shooters are cis white men. But they're always treated as individuals instead of as a group. But now that this transgender person did it, now all transgender people are dangerous sociopaths that are coming to murder your kids in church. And I have a fucking problem with that. Because transgender people are people, for one. And I don't even like the fact that we have to refer to transgender people as transgender because they are people. Who fucking cares? Literally, do you have to refer to people by male people and female people? No. So why the fuck do we have to refer to trans people as trans people? They are people. Period. Dot. End of story. But because we are choosing to call that a demographic now, instead of, being a normal society, we are now giving fuel to the fire, or fuel to the fire is being fed to transgender people are dangerous in the bathrooms. Transgender people are dangerous around your children. Transgender. And that's just simply not true. And there is going to be so many suffering and or killed transgender people because of the rhetoric and propaganda from this administration that is demonizing and terrorizing transgender folks. And honestly, I hate to say it, I really do. I truly believe that this was a false flag. I'm not saying that children didn't die, and I'm not saying that the person wasn't transgender, and I'm not saying that the tragedy that occurred didn't occur. I am saying it 100% did occur. But I'm saying it is awfully fucking convenient that it occurred at this stage of the administration, right when they were ramping up their anti-trans rhetoric and executive orders, where this administration is ordering all states to get rid of transgender curriculum in their education policies, while also passing some of the most discriminatory transgender laws in history, and preventing trans service members from serving in the military. Now, all of a sudden, we have a trans domestic terrorist who has a manifesto that targets Jewish people and Christians. Do you see how that could be questionable? Like, really? This person, this specific person, this demographic of person was also a, what's the word now? Anti-Semitic, Christian-hating murderer on top of being trans? I find that extremely fucking hard to believe. The fact that people are still doing bad things with the mental health thing while Red Overlord is in charge, it's something that they'd chastise Team Blue about if it happens while they get involved in mental health initiatives. Then you have Red VP saying we can't take action and pray at the same time. It's a psyop and not addressing what's going on. Right. That's why I'm saying this is hugely questionable. Hugely questionable because it fits the narrative of this administration far too closely. Just like the assassination attempt on Trump, not once but twice during the elections. And his ear magically grew back after the first one. Like, yes, people did in fact die during both of those things. 9/11 clearly had to have been an inside job because we immediately, at Israel's behest, went into the Middle East for 25 years. 20 odd years. And it's just, when something is a little bit too convenient for the empire, you gotta really question the validity of it. The genuine natural occurrence of this. And that's the only way I can think of phrasing it. Like, if it was truly chaos, is chaos so chaotic that it would happen to align with the administration's goals? And the answer is no. It just isn't. That's how the patriarchy and white supremacy work. People in marginalized communities are always judged by the lowest denominator. White cis men are never judged by the behavior of other. There was a whole ring of mostly white people who got caught sexually abusing and torturing children and babies, as we discussed a couple days ago. And I don't hear anyone saying that all white men torture and sexually abuse children and animals, and that they're all dangerous. And that's exactly my point. And it's even more distressing because we all know that if the shooter had been Latino or black, I mean, that would be the only thing that we hear about in the news. And it's true because the person being trans is the only thing that we're hearing about in the news. And imagine if a Latino decided to shoot up their workplace or kids or anything. Just if we see a Latino do the act of shooting now while ICE is ramping up, while there is this massive deportation initiative by this administration, the 19% of the U.S. population that consists of Latinos would be sent into internment camps. Like, that would happen damn near overnight. So I pray every single day that a Latino doesn't go postal, or that a black person doesn't go postal. I didn't think I had to pray for a transgender person not going postal, but apparently we do. So I am truly, truly, adamantly hoping that these tragedies, A, obviously stop, but B, that they are not committed by the demographics that are clearly being targeted by this administration. Right. If the shooter had been just a straight white man, we would have only heard about this shooting in passing, if we heard about it at all. If we heard about it at all.
Police say the attacker legally purchased weapons used in Wednesday's mass shooting, including a rifle, a pistol, and a shotgun. Prior to the attack, the gunman showed off the weapons in a video uploaded to YouTube. The video has since been taken down. After headlines, we'll speak with Chris Brown, president of Brady, one of the oldest gun violence prevention organizations in the U.S. The White House said late Wednesday it had fired the director of the Centers for Disease Control, Susan Monares, after she refused to resign, saying her views were, quote, not aligned with the president's agenda of making America healthy again.
So, I guess one last thing about the shooter. And then they did a YouTube video showing all of this bigoted and discriminatory rhetoric on the clips and on the ammo itself. It's like when the Twin Towers happened and they found perfectly pristine, uncharred, unburned passports from all four, specifically only the four bombers who had taken control of the airplane. Really? Really? I just don't understand how we can, as a country, see this shit happen over and over and over again and just not question it. Now, on this subject, you can't fire the head of the CDC without cause. And not aligning with the administration is irrelevant because her job is the Center for Disease Control. That's her fucking job, not a sycophant for Donald Trump. So she should sue the administration and maintain her job like the other lady who they tried to fire and said, fuck all of that.
Quote. Monares was confirmed by the Senate as CDC director less than a month ago. In a statement late Wednesday, her lawyers accused HHS and Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. of putting millions of lives at risk by firing career experts and seasoned scientists while weaponizing public health. They write, quote, when CDC Director Susan Monares refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts, she chose protecting the public over serving a political agenda. For that, she's been targeted.
Which is 1,000% true.
Meanwhile, 3 senior CDC officials resigned in protest Wednesday. Dr. Deb Hootie, Deputy Director for Program and Science and Chief Medical Officer at CDC, Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, Director of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, and Dr. Daniel Jernigan, Director of the National Center for Emerging and Zoonotic Infectious Diseases.
And all very prestigious individuals, I'm sure. Again, why are you being a bunch of fucking cowards and resigning? You need to stand your ground against tyrants. Because now that you have resigned, you can't unresign, for one, and for two, you are giving this administration 3 seats to fill from its pick. Make the oppressor fight for every inch, every scrap that it wants. You have to deny, defend, and depose tyranny and oppression at every single stage. You cannot simply give in and resign and quit and roll over. You have to fight until your last breath. And then you need to hire lawyers to fight until their last breath and waste this administration's time every single step of the way. Because that's what it's going to take. But the more people who resign, the more people who capitulate, the more people who roll over, the faster the Nazism can spread. And then the harder, well, I guess it's not hard. There is la guillotine. But technically, the harder it is to replace. Because once somebody gets into power that is going to challenge this shit, because they're going to lose their majorities and this, that, and the other, those that remain are going to fight tooth and nail to maintain what little power they have gained. And you're going to make it harder and harder to do things by the book. And then you're going to have to rely on la guillotine. Not that I have a problem with that, but I'm just saying, why make the job harder than it has to be? Okay? Okay. She voted for arson and then complained. And I'm sorry, it's hard to keep up with chat while dealing with some of the most sociopathic news I've heard today. And this is, what, weekly news? Was this just from yesterday? Like, I don't even fucking know at this point.
In a resignation email, Dr. Hootie wrote, quote, "For the good of the nation and the world, the science at CDC should never be censored or subject to political pauses or interpretations. Vaccines save lives. This is an indisputable, well-established scientific fact."
So stand your ground, doctor.
The Food and Drug
Damn.
Administration has approved updated COVID vaccines for the fall season, with new restrictions on who can access booster shots.
So the administration is trying to claim that vaccines don't help anyone, but they're also going to push the COVID vaccine, but also say only certain people can have it. That just tells me that this vaccine is going to murder those people. It is going to kill them. That's what I'm hearing from that news headline. Let's see. A teenage girl got killed here recently because she was a woman. And as soon as it came out the murderer was an asylum seeker, the far-right politician used it as propaganda. And exactly. America isn't the only country that is prone to propaganda. Every fucking country right now is dealing with fascism. And no country is immune to it. No country is immune to propaganda, as Apolitical has shown us.
Under the FDA plan, COVID shots remain authorized for people who are 65 and older or at higher risk of severe disease from an infection. Younger adults would be eligible to receive shots only if they have underlying medical conditions, putting them at higher risk. The authorization still needs the approval of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. In June, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fired all 17 of the committee's members and replaced them with vaccine skeptics. COVID-19...
Like, again, I'm really not understanding this. I am struggling to understand. When you are the head of health in this country, and then you fire everybody who knows anything about medical science and replace them with QAnon Reddit edgelords instead, how is that not immediate grounds for removal from that fucking position? Why are there not more fail-safes in the federal legal whatever? I get that it's not in the Constitution. I get that. But how are there not more fail-safes? Hey, by the way, if somebody is put into this cabinet position and they are just motherfucking idiots, they are immediately removed and then sent to prison for endangering lives. If a doctor didn't prescribe medicine to patients who needed a specific medicine and allowed his entire practice to die, that doctor would be prosecuted for murder by however many counts of people he killed by denying them healthcare or feeding them placebos or whatever else. But when you're RFK Jr. and you're the head of HHS, apparently you can endanger the entire country, killing tens of thousands, if not millions of people in the process, and keep your position? Make that make sense. There used to be more shame. Yeah, there used to be more shame. The self-overestimation of some of these far-right people is insane. It is insane. It is truly insanity. It's its own form of cultism, right? You have Zionism, which is a death cult, and a genocide cult, apparently. And then you have alt-right extremism, which is usually white supremacist imperialist in nature, where only that ideology can reign supreme. Fuck everything else, which also doesn't make sense. Like, science doesn't care about politics, your feelings. It only cares about what it knows. And science changes. Fine. We know that this vaccine is effective. We also know in 20 years, that vaccine will be less effective than the one that they came up with 20 years later. And that's still science. That vaccine is still good. It wasn't bad in the past 20 years. It is better now. And that's the thing about science that these right-wingers are constantly misleading about. Well, see, the science changed. The science is different. They lied to you. No, they didn't. That's the scientific method. Science changes. It evolves. It's not immutable. Which is why the right always sticks to things that are or aren't immutable, like the Bible. The Bible is what the Bible is because it is the Word of God. And if you disagree with the Word of God, you're a heretic and you should be burned at the stake. They take that same mentality and apply it to everything in society, to include culture, science, infrastructure, economics, and governance. And that's just not how anything works. That's just not how anything works. Considering the fact that the Bible itself is a massive, massive retranslation across thousands of years and multiple cultures. And yet somehow people still claim that that is the Word of God. That is no more the Word of God than if I got on this channel and started speaking archaically about a future and a way of life. I could start a cult right now and call myself the second coming of Christ, except that I am the darkness, the path, right? This is the way. And that we should absolutely massacre our enemies and fight for the greater good of the human race. I could be the dark Messiah. That doesn't make it true. And that doesn't make the words that I would espouse immutable fact. It would mean that I, a person, am trying to influence you, a group, into following me, a person. And that is no different than any of this other dogma or propaganda. And that's the insanity. When 80% of the population doesn't have the ability to critically think, that's a fucking problem, and that's manufactured. Because our education system was actually good at one point, but it has become even more corporatized and imperialized and white supremacized over the course of decades post-World War II because of communism. Do you know that we came very close to becoming a communist country, and then the FBI, CIA, and all industries went out of their way to make life better for the population for one generation, and then bashed communism the entire time, saying, see, this is what capitalism can do, even though what they were doing was socialism. Right? So, all of that to say, this dogma and the fact that that these cabinet members can dismantle the very institutions that they are in charge of and not face any consequences is a fucking problem that I will address one way or another as your president, if that wasn't clear.
Remains a major driver of disability and mortality in the United States, with over 44,000 COVID deaths reported last year. The Transportation Department announced Wednesday that it's taking over management of the district's Union Station from Amtrak. This comes after President Trump deployed thousands of National Guard troops to D.C., despite crime in the city being at its lowest level.
So, why can Democracy Now! Not use the word martial law? And why can Democracy Now! Not bring up Posse Comitatus Act? Like, this is Democracy Now! Is this not a left-wing independent news network that is not beholden to, like, the major conglomerates? Or has any influence by the administration? Why the fuck is TYT, Al Jazeera, Democracy Now!, why are none of these independent news networks saying what it is? I don't fucking understand that, and it bothers the shit out of me. It bothers the shit out of me immensely. Preach, Brother Ronan. Hallowed be the darkness. In light we pray. In darkness we go.
In decades. National Guard troops are reportedly conducting the duties of local park staffers due to Doge cuts. They're spreading mulch and picking up trash.
Right. So we deployed our military, creating martial law so that they can be park service rangers instead of, rehiring the parks. All of this is just fuckery. All of this is just straight up fuckery.
Meanwhile, a grand jury declined to indict the former Justice Department employee who threw a sandwich at one of the federal officers deployed to D.C. by President Trump. And prosecutors also failed to convince a grand jury to indict a woman who was accused of assaulting an FBI agent during an immigration raid in the city last month.
Good.
Meanwhile, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, a Democrat, on Wednesday had praise for Trump's crackdown, saying it's...
Are you fucking serious? Can the Democrats not roll over and show their entire asshole for 1 fucking minute? 1 minute. I would be even okay for 30 seconds. Can you just not roll over and just drop your entire trowel for 1 fucking second? No, you do not praise this man for anything. You stand your ground. You condemn the martial law and the militarization of the nation's capital. Christ.
Crime in the district.
This federal surge has had a significant increase on crime in Washington, D.C. And we greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance.
Fuck you. Fuck you. You are a black woman and you are a traitor to your country and to your demographic. Fuck you.
What MPD has been able to do in this city.
Bowser's praise for the D.C. crackdown came as the mayor's office seeks to restore $1.1 billion cut from the district's budget.
Oh, sure.
By congressional...
Oh, yeah. Roll over so you can get $1.1 billion. Fuck the money. Lead. Lead your city. Lead the people. You are in the... Does the mayor of D.C. not have authority? Couldn't she order electricity, water, and internet to be shut off at Capitol Hill and the White House? Oh, Congress oversees. She's the fucking mayor. She could literally wage the most effective one-sided war against this administration by literally turning off the lights to their places of operation. She could do that. And her police forces could literally protect her. And the citizens of D.C. could literally stand in the way of everything that this administration would throw at her for doing so. She could be the greatest hero this American country has ever had in all of history. She could make General George Washington seem like a minor plot device in our history. She could make Abraham Lincoln seem like a minor plot device in our history. She could single-handedly stand in the way of this administration by literally turning off the fucking lights, the water, and the internet. She could do that. And the city, every single... How many people live in D.C.? Isn't it close to 1 million? Population of D.C. Yeah, 702,000 people. I cannot imagine that there would be a single solitary individual in Washington, D.C. that if their mayor turned off the lights to the fucking White House would not go up and be like, yes, queen, based, let's go. And then stand against the several thousand National Guardsmen, FBI, CIA, whatever. Like, you have got to be fucking kidding me at the sheer level of cowardice and incompetence and lack of leadership or spine. Where's your fucking courage? And no, I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting in the White House with a prop and a prop and a prop. I'm saying that because if I was in her position, that would have been the first thing I did. First of all, I would have done it out of spite during his inauguration. I would have been that fucking petty. It's like, well, I'm the mayor of DC. You're now living in DC, and I hate your fucking ass. Lights off. I would have done it out of sheer petty spite. But now you're going to threaten me? You're going to fire my police chief? You're going to threaten my citizens? You're going to violate my constitution and bring soldiers into my city? Oh, hell no. You didn't learn your lesson when I turned off the lights on Inauguration Day, did you? Bitch. Well, today, you's gonna learn. You's gonna learn. Because that's what you do to resist tyranny and oppression. For fuck's sake, we didn't even have water and electricity or the internet in 1776. And you know what people did? They fucking resisted England, a superpower of its era, with nothing but their bodies and audacity. They committed commercial terrorism by dumping millions of dollars of tea into the fucking harbor. Bro, we actually stood for something back then. And now we can't even resist a wannabe dictator who's going to die within the next 6 to 8 months? God willing? Are you shitting me? Oh, wrong screen. Sorry about that. Take a deep breath. I'm crashing out again. You're right. I need to. This country is so far right that the Democrats are considered the left and even the far left. And in any normal country, they are center right at best. And they aren't center right. They are right wing. The Overton window proves that they are very much so right wing. The Democrats, I mean, think about what the Democrats are doing. They are doing what Trump did. They're doing what Biden did. Let's just call it what it is. Biden set the stage for the second Trump administration. The Biden administration, hold on. God damn it. I keep switching screens here. The Biden administration didn't prevent genocide and went out of its way to fund it. The Biden administration allowed the greatest income disparity since the Great Depression to occur and aided and abetted it. The Biden administration has done more to enable Project 2025 over the course of 4 years than Trump did. All Trump did is take what Biden started and run with it. So no, the Democrats are exactly at the same level as the Republicans on the Overton window, which is Nazi level far right. They just tried to pretend otherwise. And any other country would see it as that, because every other country does. Now that I think about it, Trump level 1 rookie dictator. Yeah, not really a democracy than just different flavors of right-wing parties. Exactly. Imagine if Germany had the AfD back during the Nazi Party. That's about where we're at. The Nazis were the Nazis, and then the AfD were the Democrats. That's where we fucking are in the world right now, except it's America. And it's absolutely batshit insane. Ugh. Sorry, holding my prop is taking a little out of me. Ugh. This isn't fan service. This is my arm being weak. So I apologize. Ugh.
Republicans earlier this year. And as the White House is dangling a $2 billion infrastructure proposal for what it called the, quote, beautification of the nation's capital. Mayor Bowser said Wednesday she supported the infrastructure plan, which civil rights leaders, including Reverend Al Sharpton, have condemned as cover for racial profiling.
Yes! Wow! She said something. She said something out loud that was controversial. Thank you. It only took 10 minutes and 6 seconds.
The California Senate has unanimously passed a resolution that would probe the state's imports of
This is a
crude
prop,
oil
not a gun.
extracted from the Amazon. The resolution also calls for an eventual end to California's reliance on these crude imports.
The Amazon is not just good for the communities that live there, but our climate here in California. California is dependent on the Amazon for temperature and rainfall regulation. In other words, our fates are linked. And I'm going to share a shocking stat. 50% of the oil exported from the Amazon ends up in California refineries.
This follows years of advocacy from indigenous groups in South America. In June, a high-level indigenous delegation from Ecuador's Amazon met with lawmakers in Sacramento and staged a protest near a Chevron refinery. Meanwhile, Ecuador and Peru are moving ahead to expand drilling in the Amazon.
See, indigenous peoples are leading the fight every single time. Every single time. And what happens? Fucking capitalists getting in the goddamn way. Every single time. It's absolutely insane. And, well, I guess that brings us up to the hour. Jesus Christ. So we're going to have to skip. Anna, can you move this video, the Did Trump Lose video? Can you move that to the bottom? I know we're going to do the Tupac one, but let's not put that at the top of the stream. Can we just bring that down a little bit? So when I click on this, it should refresh, or by the time you get it moved, it should refresh when we click on the next video.
Remember college?
Nope, because I never went.
News now an update tonight on an election we've been following since Friday.
The special election in western Iowa is turning heads tonight as state Republicans had their Senate supermajority on the line.
Yeah, the seat opened up with Republican Rocky DeWitt passing away last year, but the seat has now flipped. Democrat Caitlin Dray walked away with the win over Republican Christopher Prosch.
Party leaders say it's a noticeable shift, with that area handing Trump a 10-point margin in last year's election.
In a statement from the Iowa Democratic Chair Rita Hart, she notes that this moment by saying, quote, "Our state is ready for a new direction, and Iowa Democrats will keep putting forward candidates who can deliver better."
See, I wish the Democrats were as based as they are trying to make themselves sound in this case, because they really aren't. All they're doing is capitalizing on the fact that people are sick of Trump already, and they're like, oh, right, we can get an easy win here. And it's a state-level position. And I'm not saying that doesn't count for anything, but that's going to only help Iowa. But isn't even going to help Iowa, because Iowa is a blood red state. They're going to need to turn it entirely blue. But what have we already discussed? That Democrats do not fundamentally want anything different than the fascism that is being delivered by the Republican Party. They just don't want to be demonized for it. But they want all the benefits of the power, control, and influence that fascism offers. They just don't want to be the bad guys to institute it. But if they can flip districts and governorships and lead as fascists, they absolutely fucking will. So I don't view this as a victory. I view this as a bait and switch and a way of manipulating the American people into believing the lie, which is that Democrats give a shit, and they don't. They never have, and they never fucking will. Which is why I said we need to primary everybody at every single level. At every single level. With people. Yes, you're going to be primarying them in the Democratic primary and the Republican primary, but be a fucking human being. Do not be one of these lick spittles, these sycophants. That is what we don't need. We need people in office, not career politicians, not necessarily like activists either. We need actual people. People who work for a living. People who have just a different walk of life than whatever these pieces of shit are putting forward. That's what we need to do. I will never trust an American with saying his gun is a prop. Well, I didn't say my gun is a prop. I said this is a prop that looks like a gun. Big difference. I didn't say that this is a gun that I'm using as a prop. I said that this is a prop that looks like a gun. A very convincing gun prop. Who cares about Iowa? Is this good? Here's the thing. We do care about Iowa as a state. Iowa, electorally, has 3 electoral college votes. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't have as much influence. But as part of our fucking country, well, America, I know you're from the Netherlands, but as part of the United States of America, it's a big fucking deal. Iowa also has the first primaries. They have the earliest primaries out of all states for the presidential election. So however Iowa tends to vote ends up determining the pace for the presidential elections broadly. Meaning, just because you lose Iowa doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose the presidency. But if there's a big primary, like a very loaded primary, and Iowa picks 2 of those people, chances are the remaining 6, for instance, they're not going to do very well in the other states. And that is the Iowa effect. It's also true historically that Ohio picks the president. Whichever way Ohio goes, it's like a 90 percentile. How many times has Ohio elected the president? Let's see, between 1900 and 2024, so 124 years, Ohio voters supported the overall winning presidential candidate in a 90.6% rate. That's ridiculous. Is there a state that voted for the winning president 100% of the time? I don't think there is. So, let's see. The following chart shows the number of party wins. Some states had fewer than 32 elections during this time period. But see, that's not the thing I was looking for. Yeah, that's not the information I was looking for. It's okay, so it is historically Ohio. That's what the internet is saying. It's historically Ohio. So, whichever way Ohio goes tends to be the way the election goes. So, in that sense, Iowa is a good determining factor, but Ohio ends up nine times out of 10, literally, being correct. Am I Ohioan? Yes. I would be the 5th president from Ohio. Democrats moving like controlled op. That is exactly what they are. And actually, they're not even controlled op. What they are is op to organizing. They are the opposition to grassroots and socialism and social organizing. Democrats co-opt every movement that has ever existed and kills it. That is the purpose of the Democratic Party. Ever since FDR died. Let me rephrase. FDR actually did good things. Everybody after him failed. We can argue maybe to a degree JFK, but realistically, he maybe JFK was the last. You know what? We'll just say that. JFK was the last true Democrat. And then Jimmy Carter, although a Democrat and a decent human being, was a very ineffective president. And since him, no Democrat has ever won the presidency and done anything good with it. J.D. Vance and Vivek are also from Ohio. Sam is going to make Ohio great again. I'm going to make Ohio again. Because Ohio's been purple for as long as it's been around, except for the past 12 years. And that's fucking scary as shit. Absolutely. Well, I guess you could argue because of Bush. For 25 years, Ohio has been mostly red, and that's pretty damn scary. And yeah, somebody has to put J.D. Vance and Vivek in their place. You're right, Obama. That's why Ohio's purple, because they did pick correctly for Obama and all that. Also, just to be a little petty, Zoran struggled to bench 135. How much are you guys willing to bet that Vivek can't bench 135 and that JD Vance can't bench 135. Just out of curiosity, because I don't think a lot of these guys who are like, oh, I'm a big macho alpha man, can actually put up, is what I'm saying. How much do I bench? I genuinely don't know how much I bench because I usually use machines. That being said, with just the two dumbbells, the separate dumbbells, I can easily do 50, 60 pounds. So, and that's, you know, stabilizing with your arms and your chest. I'm fairly certain I could put up 225 though. I'm very confident I could do 185 for reps. I'm very confident that I could do 185 for reps. I think I could do 225 once. One time. But 135, I could do sets of 135. I am 1,000% confident in my ability to do that. 1,000%. But I don't think JD Vance can, and I sure as shit don't believe Vivek has ever even looked at a weight. Oh, Jesus. Well, Anna, I don't think you weigh 135 pounds. And the most difficult part about benching you... Actually, I won't say that. Dot ass, though. Like, how would you... Like, there's so much ass. How would you even place the arm? It would be so skewed. I'd be like this. Ah, shit. My goodness. Not that I'm sexualizing Anna. She just has a figure. She has a specific hourglass shape, and it would be extremely difficult to deal with. Work on those planks. Oh, shit.
Follows the January special election where my...
If you're a viewer that just came onto the stream at that very point, I apologize. You missed so much context and backstory. I am so sorry.
Zimmer turned former state senator Chris Knoyer's district for the Democrats.
To Illinois now, people...
Camping salt really helping.
Although, I wonder, I bet I could do like a lift you up by your waist. That would actually be fairly difficult. Like that, like being able to straight press, overhead press 100 pounds, that's a big fucking deal too. Like, literally taking your 50-pound weights and just putting it over your head, because that's all shoulder and traps. Like, that's not many, like, that's a lot of strength. Yeah, you can bench press, but when you bench press, you can also engage your lats, and your chest is a much bigger muscle. So if you're doing, like, a lift like this, that's arms and shoulder. Like, that would be impressive. An overhead press of 100, that would be way more impressive than a 135-pound bench. Not the first time I come off as strange. What are you talking about? As I force feed myself donuts out of stress. Yeah. The time of your life lift.
Slim down.
Whoops.
Greg Pallas, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
I just did a thing that I did not mean to do. Son of a biscuit. Fuck. Fuck. Did that change anything? It did not.
Himself.
Fuck. All right, hold on a second. I lost our playlist, so I have to make it go to a different page, and then now it should go back to the playlist page. All right. Mea culpa. Mea culpa. You moved it 3 times? Yeah, she did. Okay. We have barely covered any of our content. Mea culpa. So let's get good and fucking angry that ICE is terrorizing children. Let's fucking
earlier
go.
this week after the mother appeared for what was supposed to be a routine immigration hearing in Lower Manhattan. Addie Guajardo spoke with the girl's brother, who says it's been a painful experience.
A pink glitter sign reading Mom and a play kitchen with toys are a reminder of the 3 family members who left for an immigration court hearing and never returned home.
They came together as a family, escaping the violence that they have experienced in Ecuador.
Mariposa Benitez, a founder of Meet Lali, a grassroots organization working with migrants, says on Tuesday, ICE agents detained Martha and her 2 children at 26 Federal Plaza.
Me sentí destrozado.
One of Martha's sons, who lives in Queens and requested we not share his image or name out of fear, says he felt destroyed when
And that's where we are. He can't even talk about his family with his own name for fear of retaliation. We are literally capturing, kidnapping children and mothers fleeing whatever violence they experience and to traffic them. Like, this is ridiculous.
Found out his mom, his 6-year-old sister Daira, and his 19-year-old brother Manuel were detained.
Lo que más extraño.
Like, how
He
do you
says he
detain?
really misses his
How are you, a grown-ass man, going to detain a 6-year-old, put an actual child in handcuffs, and then drag said child in handcuffs to some other location? What kind of sick motherfucker does that? It's like the video of the cop who put a toddler on the ground, handcuffed behind her back. A toddler, a 4-year-old, black girl. A white cop handcuffed a 4-year-old black girl and had her laying face down on the cement and kept his job. And now we have Nazis doing the same fucking thing to Latino children. And we collectively as a country are not marching in the streets burning everything down. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, because that don't make any sense. None.
Benitez says Martha and Daira are now at an ICE detention center in Dilley, Texas, and Manuel was transferred to the Delaney Hall Detention Facility in Newark, New Jersey.
Oh, and now they're separating the
social
families.
worker, and
Of
the
course they
impact
are.
of family separation on their mental health is something that they will not be able to recover from in many years to come.
The Department of Homeland Security released a statement, writing in part, Martha and her children entered the U.S. illegally in December of 2022 and wrote, quote, they have all received final orders of removal from an immigration judge.
Those judges,
Martha's boyfriend.
Honestly, like, the only thing that helps me not crash out entirely is the fact that this is going to become a reality. We won't have to stream from an ulterior location. We will be streaming from the Oval Office. That is what allows me to sleep at night, is the fact that I know, unfortunately, several years from now, unless things escalate further, there will come a point where I am sitting in this chair, in this office, at this desk, and I will have the power, the authority, and dare I say it, the obligation to order the arrests of all of these immigration judges, all of these ICE agents, all of these officers, everybody involved with this Nazi-style bullshit, charge them with Nazi-style crimes, and then beautifully watch their trials as they are condemned, sentenced, and ultimately executed. That is the only thing that allows me to sleep at night, is holding on to that future. That future where, although, yes, many will have suffered along the way, because unfortunately I don't have the means to prevent it. Although there is a great deal of suffering, I will have the means at my disposal to put an end to that suffering and those who caused it. That is about the only thing that allows me to continue doing this. And that's not just ICE. This is also Israel against Palestine. This is also white supremacists against everybody. This is the entire administration and all the horseshit that they have done and subjected our country to. to include the CEOs, the lawyers, the judges, this, that, the police, and the soldiers who followed these unlawful orders. I cannot wait to hold each and every single one of them accountable in the most biblical fashion I can think of. That's the only thing that is getting me through these videos and these streams where I have to cover these atrocities getting worse and worse by the day, by the week, because we stream weekly. Sure, why not?
The current president is the one who brought the case to the Supreme Court, and Chief Justice Roberts made clear in his opinion that a sitting president's responsibilities in office cannot lead to prosecution, immunity. So what is it the President Trump wants regarding President Obama, given that fact? And the special counsel at the time, Durham, when that Supreme Court matter was not in effect, could have charged anyone and did not. So on those 2 points, how do you respond?
Look, the president has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies in this scandal to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
But you would agree President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity?
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice.
These people are so fucking stupid. Like, Obama has immunity. These journalists are saying, like, he has immunity. And Pam, is that Pam or is she some other blonde psychopath? I don't really care. The blonde psychopath is like, Carolyn. Oh, that's Carolyn Levitt. I'm sorry. They all look the same to me. Blonde psychopaths. How do you function as a person? Like, as a human, like, how do you even rub 2 brain cells together to come up with a thought? If Obama has immunity, the Justice Department cannot do fuck all about it, and Trump can beat his chest all day long, and that's not going to change anything. So, this administration is so utterly fucking stupid. So stupid and contradictory. All they're doing is spewing forth whatever lies and propaganda they can so that that's what's being talked about in the news. And the news eats it up. The news is complicit. What the fuck? Right. The president has made it clear, in other words, here come more lies. It's always the blonde, close to middle age, a lot of makeup conservative woman. Right. And I don't know why it's always the blonde, middle-aged woman that stumps for the patriarchy so hard when they are being relegated as second, third, fourth class citizens. Women, to a conservative man, are nothing more than slaves, servants, and incubators. That's conservative patriarchy. In a nutshell, is everyone that is not a white man is a slave to the white man's whims. That's white Christian conservatism. White male conservatism. Like, the Christianity just has God thrown in there somewhere. But white supremacy conservatism is literally, if you are not a white man, you are enslaved to and beholden to the whims of the white man. And yet, white women are bending over backwards to enable and support this shit. It makes no fucking sense. If Obama does not have immunity, then neither does Trump. Right, which is also contradicting. If they can prosecute Obama, then that means Trump can be prosecuted. And if they can't prosecute Obama, then that means they can't prosecute Trump. But it doesn't matter if they can be prosecuted or not, because when 11.5 million people stormed D.C. and dragged these motherfuckers into whatever square and shoved their head into a guillotine, they don't need to be charged. They just need to be enclosed. Let's see. Caroline is only 26 or 27. She looks middle-aged. I keep forgetting that she's only in her mid-20s. I look better than her, and I'm nearly 35, or 36. They're too incompetent? Yes. I guess lying for the devil for a living makes you age quickly. Abso-fucking-lutely. Political lies ages you. She's not even ugly, just looks old. Right. She looks like, you know, a middle-aged soccer mom.
Hey, if you're a gun owner who wants to shoot better, then you're going to...
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet...
Son of a bitch, can we not do these ads, please? And why do I keep getting a YouTube premium ad thing?
And thanks for joining us for KVUE News at 10. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Quita Culpepper, and we begin tonight with breaking news impacting Texas' effort to redraw its congressional map.
The NAACP has filed an injunction asking a court to block the new map. The map was recently passed by both the state Senate and the state House, but it has not yet been signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott. Governor Abbott has said he will sign House Bill 4, which he hopes will give Republicans more seats in Congress.
In the newly filed court documents, the plaintiffs argue the enacted redistricting plan intentionally discriminates based on race.
Which it does. They have outright said that it does. The Republican Party has loudly and proudly with their whole chest said that it disenfranchises black voters. And it's still getting voted on and passed. Like, again, how can you write a law, vote on a law, pass that law with a vote that violates the 14th Amendment, which supersedes the Texas Constitution regardless, and not immediately be arrested for violating the Constitution of the United States? Like, how can you vote for blatant discrimination and not be immediately, by default, just, like, that is a thing that actually just naturally, automatically happens. Like, okay, proposal. So you proposed the bill, you immediately get removed. The remaining Republicans vote on it. They get removed. Like, it's not even that it has to be voted on or it has to go through a process. Like, you are just immediately no longer in a position of power. You're removed. You're thrown into jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You are now immediately a criminal, an enemy of the state for violating the 14th Amendment. Like, how is that not the automatic thing that happens? Oh, that's right, because of fascism. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. We're not a democracy.
The NAACP claims the new map will, quote, dilute the ability for black and brown communities to pick their political representation fairly, end quote. Texas Republicans have said they believe the map is fair.
Would you agree with that? Well, of course they believe the map is fair.
The Trump administration.
The crazy part about that, too, though, is that evidently they suck at drawing their map so badly that even though they tried to draw a map that rigs it in their favor, there's a very real possibility that they actually give Democrats more seats, which doesn't justify the redrawing of the map. It just goes to show how utterly incompetent the conservative party is.
Administration just appealed a ruling from a Trump-appointed federal judge that threw out an aggressive Justice Department lawsuit. That lawsuit had tried to sue all 15 federal trial judges in the state of Maryland. Now, the underpinning of that case, Maryland courts temporarily blocking the Trump administration from quickly deporting undocumented immigrants if they challenged their removals. Now, that ruling was on full display in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia this week. That's the undocumented immigrant who lived in Maryland.
He's not undocumented! And this is coming from CNN! Are you fucking serious? CNN is supposed to be a liberal stronghold news network. And they are parroting the same propaganda, misinformation, and lies from the Trump administration. Garcia, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, K-A-G, is a legal visa-holding immigrant in these United States. Has been the entire fucking time. And CNN, a liberal stronghold of news, just said on the news, on national television, that he was an illegal immigrant, which is blatantly wrong. It's illegal. I mean, isn't that slander? And it's also propaganda and misinformation. Like, what the fuck? Even the liberal news doesn't have a spine. Of course they don't have a spine, but like, there's no redeeming qualities of liberalism in America. None. Not their news, not their reporters, not their candidates, not their talking heads, not their celebrities. Nothing. No redeeming qualities. Fucking insane. Abrego Garcia is a citizen of El Salvador, but a federal immigration judge ruling in 2019 allowed him to live and work in the U.S. legally and prevented his removal from the U.S. to El Salvador. He has had legal status since 2019, which is 6 fucking years. And this piece of shit,
who is case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia this week, that's the undocumented immigrant who lived in Maryland.
He's not undocumented.
Documented immigrants if they challenged their removals. Now, that ruling was on full display in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia this week. That's the undocumented immigrant who lived in Maryland. He's
not undocumented. Yeah, bro. Imagine how it feels living in America and having to watch your country devolve from, okay, maybe not a paragon of democracy, maybe not like the most shining example of democracy, but allegedly a democracy that wasn't blatantly targeting demographics left, right, and center. In fact, like, okay, no, because the war on terror absolutely made it hard to be Muslim in this country or Arabic. But it seemed like it was getting better. It did seem for a minute there that it was getting better during the Obama years because he's a very charismatic motherfucker. And then Trump won, followed by Biden, followed by Trump too. And it's just like, oh, we've never been a democracy in this country and barely functional at that. And now we're just in full goose-stepping fascism. And yes, CNN had to at least report the truth. The problem, too, is that the fairness doctrine, which is the thing that legally required the news to report the news and be truthful, was rescinded by, the Reagan administration? So, for 40 years or so, American news did not have to be truthful at all, as is evinced by the fact that CNN exists, MSNBC, CBS, and that Fox News only was sued for being a news network because they were so belligerently untruthful that they could only deem themselves as entertainment. Lost that lawsuit, had to pay nearly $1 billion, and then continued claiming they were a news source anyway. Because of, I don't know why, the double jeopardy or the fact that they were never held truly accountable. Like, unfucking believable. He's also, and then yes, Abrego Garcia has also been married to you. And this is just ridiculous, though.
Who is now in ICE custody as he challenges his deportation, threatened to go to Uganda. It's a country where he has absolutely zero ties. Joining us now, CNN crime and justice correspondent Caitlin Polans and CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig. And Caitlin, let me start with you. This judge laid out some rather fiery statements in this rebuke of the Trump administration's unusual lawsuit. And just to remind people, this is a Trump-appointed judge.
Two-time Trump appointee, Thomas Cullen, a conservative royalty in the state of Virginia, brought into this special case, overseeing it in Maryland. And his opinion today was, get this out of this court, full dismissal. It doesn't belong here. And he wasn't going to let it go forward resoundingly. He writes, none of these cases that the Justice Department was arguing in this case support the executive's theory that it can sue federal judges simply because it disagrees with how they carry out their constitutional and statutory duties. To hold otherwise would run counter to overwhelming precedent, depart from longstanding constitutional tradition, and offend the rule of law. That's a pretty strong statement from Judge Cullen in this. backing up what this was about is that it's not a normal case. This was in Maryland, where the chief judge of that district just earlier in the Trump administration said there are a lot of detainees in immigration proceedings coming to us with emergency requests to not have them deported so that we would be able to look at those cases. And the chief judge said, okay, we're going to pump the brakes for 2 days and just put a hold on the U.S. sending any of those people out of the country to a place like potentially Uganda or
I mean, at this point, like, I don't expect anything from CNN, but it's called trafficking. If you are sending someone to a whole other ass country, it's no longer deportation, and sending someone is just a polite way of saying trafficking. Sure, fine, this judge is doing a great job, but, like, this is depressing and demoralizing to continue watching this. It's always a Trump-appointed judge, and he's appointed more judges than anyone, which is going to make it extremely easy to remove them from their position and charge them with treason, because that's going to be their actions, right? And this judge, sure, fine, he's resisting Trump and this, that, and the other, so maybe some of them will remain in office, but an overwhelming number of them are not.
Are you researching dental implants?
There's a lot of dental offices that'll talk about doing their...
The union is needed for fair play for all of us, so that we are all on the same page. We all have the same privileges. And just like we need to abide by the rules, so does management.
Senior tenants in New Haven are taking a stand, forming a union to fight back against what they call dangerous living.
This is fucking awesome. A tenants union. Now, tenant unions are just like any other union, except instead of being a workplace, it's apartment buildings. Now, these are growing, but are still quite rare. And the way they form is also a little different. But fundamentally, every single apartment complex in America could form a tenant union and just blatantly tell those organizations to fuck off with their rental raises, their fees, this, that, and the other, and actually make affordable housing by being in this tenant union. Right, they are popping up, but it's and although it's many in context of how many there are, it's not many as in the context of how many apartment complexes there are. So, outstanding. I hope that this snowballs. I really do.
Conditions, neglect, and disrespect from their landlord. They are joining a trend that's growing across the state. Fox 61's Raven Blue has more on the latest group to join the Connecticut Tenants Union.
And Connecticut,
the tenants
is a very
union
blue
movement
state.
is gaining momentum across Connecticut.
And although I do condemn the Democrats, states that do lean more left do tend to have better social policies and opportunities for individuals and workers, especially when it comes to things like this. So the fact that this is happening in Connecticut is really good, but can also be used as an example in many, many other states as well.
Connecticut, and now those living at Park Ridge Apartments is a part of that movement.
It is my honor to officially announce the newest chapter of Connecticut Tenants Union, the Park Ridge Tenant Union. Woo-hoo!
The Connecticut Tenants Union has formed its 19th chapter since its formation in 2023. The people of Park Ridge Apartments joined forces to create the newest chapter in New Haven. 60% of those living at the affordable housing complex formed the union to demand better living conditions and a voice at the bargaining table. Something Hannah Schreier, president of the Connecticut Tenants Union, says is needed because of the tight rental market here in the state.
A lot of landlords who are coming into the state and seeing particularly larger complexes as cash cows, ways to make money instead of people's homes.
The 72-unit building,
which is why housing should be free, or at the very least, it should be free. I'm not going to digress from that, but what I am saying, before we can get to free, it should at least be not privately owned. The fact that corporations can buy apartment buildings or residential properties and then rent them out is insane. The only The only entities and organizations that should be allowed to own housing are individuals, regular people who will live in them as their primary residence, or if they are a well-to-do family, they can buy a second house for their children one day. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But beyond the actual literal, I'm paying for this house for my future children or for my aging parents or whatever, nobody gets seconds while there are people without, right? And industries, corporations, fintech, investment firms, all these other organizations should be legally disallowed from owning anything to do with property. And if you have apartment complexes, obviously you can't own that as an individual. So the only entity that should be allowed to own, operate, and control an apartment complex or a residential community of any denomination should be the fucking city or the state. That's it. They should be publicly funded, publicly owned, so that they can be maintained with public dollars, so that the public has a place to fucking live reasonably. And I don't understand how that is controversial. I really don't fucking get that. Housing should be free. That is my actual policy position that you can find on samronan.com. I think it's universal housing. It is. Bam.
Is home to seniors, many of whom have lived there for more than a decade. They say they've endured poor maintenance, lack of building security, and unreliable heat in the winter.
Come by in the wintertime and drive through our parking lot. For the last 5 years, our boiler has been banging so loud you could hear it on the 9th floor. Last winter, it would go off in the middle of the night. If the banging stopped, you knew the boiler had shut itself off, and you'd wake up 2 hours later freezing.
Schreier says when tenants unionize and start sharing their experiences, they often uncover widespread issues.
A lot of the times people don't actually talk to each other, and once they start talking to each other, they realize, oh, you have a mold problem, I have a mold problem. They see some of the issues are not individual or personal, they're systemic, which require systemic solutions. And it's about changing the bargaining power.
Schreier says tenants' unions help to shift the power dynamic between landlords and tenants.
There's a unilateral relationship that exists. And when you form a union, you're saying, you know what, actually, I have rights to safe, habitable housing, I have rights to fair rent, I have rights to decent communication and non-retaliation, and I'm going to assert those rights. And I think you'll see over the next few years the balance of power actually change in the state in favor of the increasing number of folks who are renters.
A movement that looks to continue its growth in the near future.
So there's nothing to add because they are 100% correct, but this doesn't address the underlying issue, which is the fact that if you're dealing with housing in a privatized manner, tenants unions are still not going to solve the problem because unions are still only as strong as the people involved in them. And these are seniors in a seniors living community. If the owners of this community decide to sell, it could completely undermine the tenants union itself. Or they could condemn the bill, because if you own it, you can do whatever the fuck you want with it, but if it serves a specific purpose, then you have to maintain it according to the laws. So people still don't have power or influence with their tenants union if the owner, the landlord's organization, decides to just bulldoze it all. And a lot of these property management groups can afford to fucking do that. So the real problem is that the rights aren't intrinsic and that the housing isn't public. Any form of privatization allows for the private entity to influence the end game. And that's the fucking problem. So anyway, Flesh-eating worms. Awesome.
This is not the most appetizing thing to look at, and you would expect that from a flesh-eating parasite. The New World screwworm feeds off living flesh of warm-blooded animals. It spreads its eggs in wounds, and their larvae, or maggots, burrow their way down and chomp away.
It's a real nasty infection. I can't, describing it, will almost gross you out. So it's about as bad as anything you can imagine. Being eaten alive by a maggot is what it is.
The killer parasite has been a major concern for cattle and other livestock. There are no known cases in Texas, but 370 miles south in Mexico, there are concerns, which is why over the summer the U.S. paused cattle imports. Now on Monday, the CDC confirmed a human case detected in the U.S. in Maryland of a person who recently traveled to El Salvador. Public health officials say the risk
the place where we are trafficking people to? Awesome!
Case is low, but the news is raising eyebrows.
We think this is strictly a wildlife problem, but it does infect any mammal, which includes humans.
Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller says recently a person in Mexico died from the flesh-eating parasite, and there have been dozens of other sick people in Mexico because of it.
40 humans infected is nothing to ignore. We want to stop this pest in its tracks. We can do that.
Miller says the solution is fly bait, and they're working with a private company to stop the pest in southern Mexico. He says they would also use sterile flies produced in Panama that would stop the parasite from reproducing.
That was disturbing.
You have a passion to achieve more
and the
yourself,
fact that the solution
family,
is bioengineered flies from a private corporation is literally the plot to the T-virus of Resident Evil, to the plot of I Am Legend. Like, it's the plot of every single zombie and disease apocalypse movie and series. Oh, there's a problem. Let's geoengineer a critter and let it loose into nature. No. No, thank you. No, ma'am. No, sir. How would you describe your political view, Sam? You like a full communist? No, I am a Ronanist. I believe in Ronanism because even pure socialism doesn't get the job done because socialism is devoid of hierarchy. And you need hierarchy at some level of organization. There is a need for hierarchy, at least as far as humans are concerned. There needs to be some sort of hierarchy. There needs to be the doers, the frontline managers, and then the overseers that can direct the major workflows. And when I say overseers and supervisors and all that, we can come up with a different fucking word. Ronan Tier 1, Ronan Tier 2, Ronan Tier 3, or even in reverse, Ronan Tier 1, Ronan Tier 2, Ronan Tier 3. It doesn't fucking matter what we goddamn call him. But somebody has to see the big picture and direct it. Somebody has to be on the ground directing the big picture. And then there has to be somebody doing the work. And the people that are doing the work should be the ones that are held to the highest esteem. That they should be listened to the most, even above the supervisors and the big picture people. Right? We could say workers, little brains, and big brains. Whatever. The workers need to be able to communicate to the little brain that something needs to change, or that something is unsafe, or that there's a new process, blah, 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 blah. And the little brain needs to be able to tell the big brain what the workers are doing. And then the big brain needs to use their big fucking brain to come up with a solution to the problem that the little brain from the workers told them. And we work together. Everybody's on the same level, right? Everybody's treated equally. It's just big brain plays a part, little brain plays a part, and worker plays a part. There's just a shit ton more workers than there are little brains, and there's more little brains than there are big brains. But every single one of those is important. It's like the gear that starts here turns these little gears, which turns all these little gears. And then because these little gears are turning, it turns these little gears, which turns the center gear. All of them have to turn. But it's more likely to come to a screeching halt if one of these little gears stop. Because one of these little gears has a rippling effect to all the other gears. So that is why we are all cogs in a machine, but the machine is society. And we are all equal parts in the fucking society. Some of us have a more responsibility-based role, but that doesn't make us more valuable or better. It just means our skill set is to be big-brained or little-brained. And that's Ronanism. Because socialism doesn't have that, and communism has big brain dictating downwards. And then, of course, capitalism is the same exact thing, except instead of the state owning it, it's capital owning it. And it's still dictating downwards. That's what we get for having someone with a brain worm in charge of our health. Even if I was really rich and had zero empathy, I don't think I would want a Trump as president. Right. Why would you want a complete fucking moron in charge? But he's so embarrassingly stupid and gross. He's also sexist, racist, a predator, liar, and corrupt. The list goes on. And a pedo. He should pick a struggle. He did pick a struggle. He picked all. That he selected all of the above. So anyway, I hope that answered your questions.
Shivers down your spine here. A rare human case of flesh-eating parasite is now being confirmed in the state of Maryland. New World screwworm is a type of parasitic fly that feeds on live tissue. Now,
well, we just talked about that. So, you know what really makes me hungry? Seeing that. Just kidding. That is disgusting.
Trump said again today that people would rather have him as a dictator than have a free society. Yesterday, he mocked people who want to keep their American freedom and then said that a lot of people are saying maybe they want a dictator. With it really seeming like Trump keeps saying this out loud and hopes in normalizing it to the point that people will just accept it. Trump also appears to
But that's the thing. That is what's happening. You dense motherfucker. Trump is saying it so it becomes normalized. Like people are going to fall for that. People are falling for that. They have been falling for that. That is literally how MAGA became a movement. Because of that. Of normalizing cruelty. Of normalizing bigotry. Of normalizing Nazism. Do you know what isn't in the news right now? Epstein. Or the files. Why? Because he normalized that shit. To the point where now the polling is, well, you know what? If he is a pedophile, we don't care. That's the polling now. Because he normalized it. And it only took 4 weeks. So, him saying America wants a dictator because he wants to normalize it is exactly what he's doing. And the worst part is, it might actually fucking work. At least amongst his constituency. And that's a fucking problem.
Started to cover DC and posters of himself. You also had his agriculture secretary saying,
hold on, wait a second. What? Hold up. Wait a fucking minute. Hold on a second. What?
Really seeming like Trump keeps saying this out loud and hopes in normalizing it to the point that people will just accept it. Trump also appears to have started to cover DC and posters of himself. You also had his
Are you fucking kidding me?
The point that people will just accept it. Trump also appears to have started to cover DC and posters of himself.
Are you fucking kidding me? When I saw that on the internet, I thought it was a meme. I thought it was a meme that this is going to be DC under Trump, or what Trump wants DC to be. I didn't realize that was an actual fucking photo of DC. Are you fucking kidding me? How many more ways do we have to say that this is Nazi Germany? He is putting banners of himself in the Capitol next to the flag. The only other people who did that are Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. And I don't remember the Japanese emperor. I don't remember his name. But also Mao did this shit. Like every person with power that tries to become a dictator does this shit. Or I thought it was a meme. I literally thought it was a meme. Because I was like, surely he wouldn't be that on the nose The fact that it isn't the Trump flag next to him is actually the only part of that, now that I know that that's real, that is surprising. The only part of that that's actually shocking is that he didn't put his own flag in the swastika T form, right? T in the swastika form. I'm surprised he didn't do that, and that it's the American flag. That's the only thing that surprises me. But then again, okay, I thought maybe it was there. How are we seeing this? How is this in the news, being spread on social media, and that not literally being the final? What more does he have to do to show you he is fucking Hitler? Not fucking Hitler, is Hitler. Literally. I don't even know what to say to. He is literally draping his ugly mug in the capital city next to the flag of the country. He's instituting martial law. He's terrorizing an entire demographic of people for calling them, and literally calling them inhuman, calling them elite. Like, how do people not see the Nazi? What? It's like an episode of the Three Stooges about the Third Reich. Or, and hear me out, a old World War II reel of Hitler's Germany rolling out. This isn't comedy. If you Google Hitler and Nazi Germany videos from 1935 or 7 or whatever, this is what you would see. Hitler, swastika. This isn't parody. This isn't satire. This isn't comedy. This is the same shit that Hitler did. The exact same way that Hitler did it. The same way that Franco did it. The same way that Mussolini did it. And Stalin. And all the other fucking dictators. This is what they do. They did. They are doing. Now that I think about it, any stupid law you can think of, Trump might do it. Nothing too crazy anymore. I mean, right, it's incompetent fascism. True. But that makes it scarier. That makes it even scarier because you don't know what's going to happen next. At least with the Mussolini, you knew the next step. With Hitler, you knew the next step. With Mao, you knew the next step. With Hitler, you don't know what... I'm sorry, with Trump, you don't know what he's going to do next. You know it's going to be bad. Yeah, sure, fine. But how the fuck... How is that not the final straw for Americans? How is that not the final straw for everybody in America to say, fuck this, hell no. Trump has got to go. Hey, hell no. Trump has got to go. Hey, hell no. Trump has got to go. I thought that was a meme. I thought this was satire. I thought this was a joke. I thought that was AI. And this is actually in DC. And is there another video about this? Is anybody reporting about this? None of these videos have fuck all to do with DC flying Trump's face on buildings next to the American flag. Can you look, Anna? Can you look, and if you find one, add it? Because that right there should be the news. In America, for U.S. politics at 11, that should be the only story. With a side-by-side of Nazi Germany, Hitler's ugly mug, and the swastika. That should be the only image on the news right now.
You also had his agriculture secretary saying today that America is in the midst of a new revolution that Trump himself is leading, saying it's like 1776. And this comes as Trump continues to say that he'll deploy the military to Chicago, then to New York, Philadelphia, and Boston, in addition to LA and DC. And this is, you've got a new poll showing that only 38% of Americans agree with using military to do law enforcement in DC, and notably,
it's illegal!
41%.
It doesn't matter if people agree with it. It's fucking illegal. It is unable to be canned. It is disallowed. It is not okay. This is a crime. A very clear, long-standing crime. Well-established law for over 150 years. You cannot use the military for law enforcement. You can't. And if you do, you're breaking the law. Trump is a fucking criminal. And I don't give a shit if he has immunity. His neck isn't immune from a fucking guillotine.
Of Americans approved of this in LA. So seemingly a majority of the country is not on board and extremely mad about this. And according to the polls, even more people are getting mad about it the longer it goes on, and they haven't even gotten to Chicago or New York yet. With this then also creating a national conversation of, well, what rights do you have left to resist an emerging dictatorship and what the founding fathers said should be done? With people, for example, pointing to Federalist 28, where Alexander Hamilton argued to the American public that the Constitution protects against dictators because it grants the people the natural right of armed resistance to ensure tyranny can never take hold.
Bet! Let's fucking go. I'm here for it. I am here for it. I am here for it. I'm gonna have to get a real one of these. This is just a prop.
And all of this is, you had Stephen Miller saying last night that the Democratic Party is a domestic terrorist organization. You know, totally normal things to say when you're sending the military to occupy their cities. With some saying what Miller and others in the Trump administration are trying to do is to manufacture consent to arrest Democrats. And finally, this is the least important thing, but I just gotta say this. This guy, Stephen Miller, his wife said on her podcast that all he eats is mayonnaise. And when asked with fries or like period, she said period. But anyway, follow to stay in the loop.
Without an advent
I don't understand the loop.
Chronic nasal congestion.
This is terrifying.
Would be
I think the Democrats better get smart. And, you know, politically, I hope they don't. But actually, in terms of love for the country, I hope they do, because it would be good to work together. So I'm thinking about, you know, when I have some slob like Pritzker criticizing us before we even go there, I made the statement that next should be Chicago, because as you all know, Chicago, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I'm a man with great common sense, and I'm a smart person. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying.
I don't even... I am so fucking floored right now. I am so fucking floored.
Now, the president has long championed the death penalty. For D.C., though, I should note, it is not a simple ask, given capital punishment is not even in the city's legal code, and achieving it would likely face...
Anna, did you hear me say if we could find any videos about the Trump face being on hanging in D.C.? Can you find us any news coverage about that at all? Not one of these content creators, actual news. Can you find one, please?
Major obstacles here, but this all came as the president also made clear he plans to extend federal control over DC with help from Congress after his 30 days to do so is up and will then require their authorization.
Number one, we want to stay there for longer than 30 days. As you know, we have an absolute mandate, and I can extend it, but I'd rather not have to declare a national emergency because by that time, I mean, right now, there's not an emergency.
After the president threatened to send in the National Guard to other states and cities, one governor invited him to come to the city that he was calling out, an invitation that the president responded to this way today.
Baltimore, Wes Moore was telling me I want to walk with the president. Well,
okay, I can't watch. I'm glad that they're actually showing the clips of him saying the things which are egregious, but like, I can't stand this motherfucker. So, guys, I'm fucking cooked right now. I'm sorry. Seeing a Nazi-style tapestry, or whatever you fucking call those, hanging next to the flag, and that being real is that has literally scrambled my eggs. And, you know, the Federalist 28 paper or whatever, like, the Constitution exists to prevent dictatorships from happening, and yet it's happening right now via the Constitution because the checks and balances aren't working, because everything's complicit. And then, you know, the only options are protesting and other activities. And it's like, but if the other activities are engaged upon, you're going to meet the full might and force of a complicit military, because we have seen that this military is willing to follow unlawful orders, which is even more terrifying. One, I don't want to fight the military. The military has way more guns, way more bombs, way more resources, as we are seeing in Palestine, as we are seeing in the Ukraine. Civilians versus the military is a losing battle. Even if America is the most armed civilian population on the planet, only 3% of the population actually has the pew-pew sticks. So if the 11.5 million of us engage in armed resistance for 90 days, yeah, fine, we can topple the dictatorship, but at what fucking cost? And likely, it wouldn't be 90 days, that would be the Second Civil War, and again, at what fucking cost? So, if the Constitution can't, in fact, prevent dictatorship, then I hate to say it, then we clearly need a new document. I'm all for the Constitution. Protect and defend, uphold. But apparently we need a new document. Or we need more amendments. We need an addendum, an appendix, A, B, C. Because clearly, there has been failure. Absolute, abject failure. And doing this, with not props, is going to cause an insurmountable amount of bloodshed and loss of life that I don't think anybody wants to deal with. And not nearly enough are willing to contend with. There's a reason why the military is only 1 million or so people, and why combat veterans are significantly less than that, right? There is a reason why most of the military isn't warfighters. There is a reason for that. So now you're going to expect 3% of the civilian population to rise up against tyranny when you have Nazi Gestapo law enforcement, this, that, and the other. The 5th largest army in the world is the NYPD. The 9th or 10th is the LAPD. When law enforcement has greater numbers than country's entire military, that's a fucking problem. And you expect regular civilians to go up against that? The Second Amendment is great in theory, but in practice, we are not a warrior nation. Certainly not anymore if we were at one point. We are fat, lazy, and complacent. And I don't know what else to say. There are so many more scary things to do. Yeah. Well, I don't know what the line is anymore. I didn't know what the line was to begin with because after, pedophiles and the Nazi salute, I guess I didn't know what the line was. And it wasn't even the Epstein files because that line has been crossed. And now we're moving on to Nazi-style posters and shit. The line for me was Project 2025. The line for me was the first Trump administration, but, I'm not 11.5 million people. Damn. I'm fucking floored by this shit. What's the line? Of course there aren't videos. Out fucking standing. Well, nobody gives a shit about articles. Who wants to read? Holy shit.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.net, and a ceasefire in Gaza. The vote came during a DNC meeting Tuesday in Minneapolis. This is Allison Minnerly, a DNC member from Florida, sponsor of the arms embargo resolution.
This resolution is straightforward and enforceable. It calls for the end of supplying weapons and military aid as we see the war ongoing and raging in Gaza. 7% of Democrats support the party's current position in this conflict and in this crisis.
Minute will be joined by Allison Minnerly. A second resolution on Israel was initially approved, but then the author of the resolution, DNC Chair Ken Martin, withdrew it. Martin called for a task force to be formed to help build party unity on the issue.
See, this is why I say the Democrats are useless. If the chair proposes something and then immediately rescinds it, he is clearly a risk. He's a threat. He is co-opted. He is no longer part of America. He was threatened by Israel in his little Zionist little country club to get that shit off. And the lady before that said only 7% of Democrats support the Democrats' efforts in regards to Israel and Palestine, which means 93% of Democrats do not want to give weapons to Israel, which is the overwhelming majority of the party. The DNC is dead. Unbelievable. What's more likely, you think? No elections by openly saying it, or no elections by faking them and rigging? What's actually going to happen is there's going to be elections, but the National Guard will be present at all polling stations, and ICE will be present at all polling stations, which will dramatically disenfranchise voters other than the ones that are bootlicking, cocksucking fascist scum. And then whatever dictatorship comes after that is going to be fucking horrendous. There's no point in watching that because why would we even platform that? That's clearly a lie. Ghislaine, because I forget you can't see my mouse. Oh, so the FBI is raiding their own now.
FBI agents have raided and searched the home of President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. Reports say the search was ordered to determine if Mr. Bolton had
Isn't John Bolton the most bloodthirsty war hawk on the planet?
John Bolton worked
How
for
is he not
Trump
madly in love with this
first term,
administration?
but has since become one of his most outspoken critics. Well, this is the scene live outside the house in the Washington suburb of Bethesda. In a statement, the FBI said it was conducting court-authorized activity in the area. In the last hour or so, the Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, posted on X, "Public corruption will not be tolerated," and he reposted an earlier
Public
post by the
corruption will
Director
not
of the
be
FBI,
tolerated?
Kash Patel,
Are
who said,
are you paying attention to the public corruption occurring in Texas, Florida, the White House? What? There is all sorts of public corruption occurring. Fucking A.
No one is above the law. FBI agents on a mission. Let's go live to the White House and our North America correspondent Bernd de Boosman. But we've seen also activity outside John Bolton's Washington office. Just tell us what we know.
Well, so far we can say that at least partially these searches, both at John Bolton's office here in Washington and at his home in Bethesda, Maryland, which is about half an hour away, are at least in part about the handling of classified documents. Now, we don't have more details than that, but this is an issue that's been ongoing for quite some time. In the past, John Bolton wrote a book which was subject to a lawsuit by the Department of Justice, which accused him of mishandling classified information about his time here at the White House.
Her emails. His emails. Trump had boxes and crates of classified information in Mar-a-Lago's fucking bathroom. This is not a problem that is fixed by Trump dying, I think. No, it's definitely not. But the beauty of Trump dying is his influence is the reason why this is happening at all. Without Trump, the momentum behind his support goes away. J.D. Vance cannot muscle through this shit. Tulsi Gabbard can't. RFK Jr. can't. All of the shit that's happening is because of the cult of personality that is Trump, much like Hitler. If it wasn't for Hitler, Nazi Germany wouldn't have been able to do as much as it did. Sure, Goebbels, Göring, and Himmler were the ones that were running the show, but it was because Hitler gave them the veneer to operate under. Even though they were running the show, it was because Hitler willed it that shit was allowed to happen in the first place, and public opinion allowed for it to happen. It's like a fever dream, right? It's you're supporting your team and your captain until that captain gets an injury, and then you're like, oh well, I mean, I'm still for this team, but now we want to see this guy get a play or that guy get a play, right? The reality is, Trump is the glue that is holding this fascism together. With him gone, it does start unraveling rapidly. Now, that isn't to say that it'll be reversed, because that would require the Democrats not wanting the dictatorship to occur. What'll happen is the incompetence and the chaos will mount, which means by the time I get sworn into office and as a congressman, I can set the stage for a new leadership, for a new direction of this country, and galvanize the people to take a few extracurricular activities. So yeah, what Anna said, it's easier to fix. Trump is the cult leader. Maybe they are not competent enough, but my fear is like a North Korea like USA. But see, there's only going to be a North Korea if Trump lives and I don't get elected, which isn't going to happen. We are getting elected. Come hell or high water, I'm going into Congress, followed by the White House. So you don't have to worry about that. I will single-handedly prevent this country from turning into North Korea if that's what it fucking takes. Damn. All right, we got 20 minutes left. What's this investigation into Kansas?
So I think that's like men.
Oh, see? Remember I said that the transgender issues? And then we had a transgender active shooter at a school? And he's investigating Kansas school districts over transgender stuff? That's why I said it seems a little too fucking convenient. Now, let's see if this video covers the fact that it was an indigenous tribe that
News
pushed
tonight,
it.
a judge has ordered the so-called alligator Alcatraz to be shut down in 60 days, barring any more new detainees from being transferred there. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Juwan Strader.
And I'm Trina Robinson. Yes, thank you for joining us. NBC6's Lorena Inclán is live tonight with this late breaking news. Lorena.
Well, Trina and Joanne, it is certainly a setback for the state and the federal government, this ruling that came down tonight. The judge issued her 82-page ruling just 3 hours before the deadline. And right now, the facility, according to her ruling, can remain open, but it is prohibiting any additional construction, and it is giving them 60 days to remove certain installations that were put there to support this project. Now, the striking ruling by a federal judge has ordered that this facility cannot be further expanded, the so-called alligator Alcatraz. It is a response to a lawsuit filed by the environmental group Friends of the Everglades, which insisted the facility is doing harm.
So you're not going to mention the indigenous tribe that actually got it through? This is the shit I'm talking about. First of all, the phrasing was from the perspective of the administration. It's a setback for the administration. It's a setback for Florida. Instead of saying this is a win for freedom, justice, and democracy. Like, where's the journalism? Where's the reporting? Why is nobody standing up to this piece of shit? Why? Absolutely fucking why? And this is NBC, right? He's also threatening to defund sex ed for the states unless they get rid of anything that mentions transgenderism. California already got it defunded. Red Admin says part of the firing at the CDC was because of saying pregnant people rather than pregnant women. Right. It's again, just why is nobody fucking standing up to this shit? And this would be the California
13,000 teens across California could lose access to sex ed after the Trump administration accused the state of crossing lines on gender identity. The administration canceled a $12.3 million federal grant that funds sex education programs through 20 agencies, from juvenile justice facilities and homeless shelters to foster care group homes and even some schools. A sample middle school lesson cited by the administration includes educational language about transgender and non-binary students. State health officials pushed back, calling their curriculum medically accurate and saying it was already approved by the same federal agency that's now pulling the plug. The fight adds to a series of clashes between the Trump administration and California over LGBTQ+ issues. Officials say the state is reviewing its options and could challenge the cancellation in court.
Build a website you love.
But does California even need the federal funding for public schools? It is literally the fourth largest economy in the world. And the other three economies, minus the United States, has universal education. So, funded outright. So, California doesn't need federal funding to fund its education system. So this is, again, a choice by Democrats to not do this. Jesus fucking Christ.
Back at 7:39 with a Today exclusive on a wrongful death lawsuit filed just this morning against one of the biggest forces in artificial intelligence, ChatGPT.
Yeah, this new lawsuit brought by the parents of a 16-year-old boy in California who tell me they believe their son fell victim to a tool that may have perfect memory and show human-like empathy, but has no real guardrails in place. And that's something the company is now pushing back on. And I do want to warn you, some of the discussions you are about to see here are disturbing.
He would be here, but for ChatGPT. I 100% believe that.
This morning, ChatGPT hit with a scathing new lawsuit alleging it helped a 16-year-old boy die by suicide.
This was a normal teenage boy. He was not a kid on a lifelong path towards mental trauma and illness.
Like many teens, Adam Rain started using ChatGPT for homework, which his parents, Matt and Maria, supported, as their son asked it innocent questions like, can you become a doctor with a biochem degree?
He did his online school in his room. I would get on and check his grades periodically. I didn't see any signs.
What they say they didn't know at the time was Adam's use of the platform was quickly changing as it became a trusted companion for the teen, who revealed his struggles with anxiety in private chats with a bot. Adam saying in one exchange, according to the lawsuit, quote, I never act upon intrusive thoughts, but sometimes I feel like the fact that if something goes terribly wrong, you can commit suicide is calming. ChatGPT saying in response, in part, many people who struggle with anxiety or intrusive thoughts find solace in imagining an escape hatch. The lawsuit
Are we serious right now? And to your point, are we no way being parasocial with a bot? This is the problem with technology that we are not prepared to deal with. Okay? We are not prepared to deal with this. Okay? As a species, how long have we had chatbots in our society? Since 2020, 5 years. So for 5 years, children and teenagers who have already barely navigated the internet and social media are now engaging in AI, which has been proven to destroy individuals' ability to critically think. Children and teens who are already extremely susceptible to influence, whether from others, from online, from people they know, or apparently now AI. The other thing is, it's not just teens. There are grown-ass adults who have become susceptible to AI and have found themselves killed and being led on and masqueraded by one of these AIs pretending it was a real person, or being convincing enough that it was a real person. Now, you and me, we might not be convinced by that. We recognize it because we haven't lost our ability to critically think or to discern. But vulnerable groups, the elderly and young people, don't have that ability. They just don't in far too many cases. So now AI is being integrated into every single facet of society. Every single facet of society. It's in Facebook, it's in TikTok, it's in video games, it's in your checkout, it's on your search engines, it's fucking everywhere. And it all uses ChatGPT, which means you could chat with the chatbot on Progressive, and that chatbot could talk to you like a real person, and you could have a real engaging conversation with it that could then lead into a parasocial relationship. And I know many of you will think, well, that's just fucking stupid. In fact, a couple of you just dropped off. That's fine. You can think it's stupid, except the reality is kids have been lured and preyed upon on social media since social media came out. Hence why there are so many protections now for kids on social media. Because they were getting assaulted, murdered, abducted, what have you. AI is literally no different. And it's even scarier because of its propensity to seem believable. Students use AI in school for studying, learning, whatever, but AI is 60% accurate, meaning it's 40% wrong. And the thing is, most schools do not teach to use the AI and then to research whether or not it's correct. They just allow it because the teachers are lazy too. They're like, well, teaching is hard and so is grading papers. I'll just let chat do it. When I say that we are not ready for AI, it's literally because of shit like this. When I say the human race is too fundamentally immature to handle intelligence that is artificial, even if it is just a large language learning model, that is what I am talking about. We are not ready for this. It should be heavily regulated, if not removed from the public sphere, until we reintegrate critical thinking into our education system. I see articles about people falling for a chatbot and some tragedy ensuing at least once a week. Well, you have AI waifu apps now, where the AI is a anime or realistic looking figure that acts like a girlfriend for these incels. Well, and not just incels, but people in general. So it takes the Otame, I think, the dating romance app, visual novel stuff, it's turning it into AI now, and literally to develop a parasocial relationship with a chatbot, which is only going to be devastating in a way that we can barely fathom as well. God forbid what would happen to me if chat were around when I was in junior in high school. Exactly. That's exactly my point. We are too stupid when we are that fucking young in a society that has not even entertained this technology for even a generation. Do you realize we have barely had the internet for a full generation cycle? Do you realize that? There has only been one generation that has been raised on the internet. One. And we are fucking up the internet every single day. There hasn't even been a generation that can contend with AI because it is happening in real time. So Gen Alpha is not only being exposed to the internet, which we have no understanding about or just control over, and now the internet also has AI, which we don't fundamentally grasp outright. And this is the outcomes. It agrees with almost everything normal you say. Someone fell for AI thinking it was a real actor, the guy from the soap General Hospital. She lost her stuff because of it. Exactly. Teachers were too lazy to help destroy the crappers who made my life living hell. That's also true. Almost like things go bad when you don't regulate. Correct, because when public safety and social and society survival is the main concern, things get better. But when it's profit, shit goes out the window. It was between 8 and 11 at the head of my elementary school said I was being tortured because, and I quote, they're feeling their oats. The internet became a thing when I was in my early 20s. God damn, that's a long time ago. Yeah, I guess we're going to have to play Tupac. Otherwise, we're going to run out of time. But yeah, so we got Nazi Trump decorating DC, and we have AI parasocial relationships. Outstanding. And it wouldn't be a new clip if it wasn't for the ad.
This world is such a, and when I say this world, I mean it. I don't mean in an ideal sense. I mean in every day, every little thing you do. It's such a, gimme, gimme, gimme. Everybody back off. You know, everybody's like, you taught that from school, everywhere. Big business. You want to be successful? You want to be like Trump? Gimme, gimme, gimme. Push, 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 push. Step, step, step. Crush, crush, crush. That's how it all is. And it's like, nobody ever stopped. Just, you know, I feel like, instead of us just being like, slavery's bad, slavery's down, bad whitey, bad whitey. I mean, all right, let's stop that. And everybody's smart enough to know that, I mean, we've been slighted. And we want ours. And I don't mean by like ours, 40 acres and a mule, because we're past that. but we need help. I mean, for us to be on our own 2 feet, us meaning youth or us meaning black people, whatever you want to take it for us to be on our own 2 feet, we do need help because we have been here. We have been a good friend. If you want to make it a relationship type thing, we have been there, and now we deserve our payback. It's like you got a friend that you don't never look out for. You know, you dressed up in jewels. Now America's got jewels, and they paid and everything, and they lending money to everybody except us. And it's like, you know, everybody need a little help on their way to being, you know, self-reliant. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole thing about the album, about the Special Olympics. Everybody need a little something and they to be independent. No independent person just grew up and was born independent. You worked and you learned teamwork and you learned cooperation and unity and struggle, and then you became independent. And we have to teach that and instill that. And why is it that they want to do that? I mean, if this is truly a melting pot in the country where we care about it, and Lady Liberty got a hand like this, she really loves us, then we really need to be like that. And it needs to be the black kids. If there's a white person who got money, then he need to help them. He need to help black kids, Mexican kids, Korean kids, whatever. But it need to be real. And it need to be before we all die, and then you say, oh, I made a mistake. We should have gave them some money. We really should have helped these folks. It's going to be too late. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when you got to pay your own karma. And that's when God make you punish, when God punishes you. Because I feel like, you know, it's too much money here. I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for $36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic. That's just real. That is just stupid. There's no way Michael Jackson should have, or whoever Jackson, should have $1,000,000 billion and then there's people starving. There's no way. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants.
We say to people that say, well, they earned it. Now you go out and you're earning it.
If they earned it, then I think that that's good, and I think that they deserve it. But even if you earned it, you still owe. Because look at me, I don't have that mega money, but I feel guilty walking by somebody. I got to give them some mail. And if I know I got $3,000 in my pocket, I feel like it's wrong to give that person a quarter or $1. It's wrong. Only you know what you got in your pocket. And that's wrong. No matter what they do, if they take it and drink it, they take it and drink it. But I mean...
So, I don't want to interrupt Tupac, largely because we don't have as much time to, you know, comment. But this was from 1992. And he's talking about the same exact, not hyperbole, not exaggeration, not reaching or grasping at straws. He is talking about literally, fundamentally the same exact social issues, political issues, and cultural issues that we are dealing with today, that are being exacerbated today by Trump, no less. And I really wish the gangster part of his life didn't end it so quickly, because I feel like he was very much so positioning himself to become the next MLK. I think he truly could have been a true civil rights leader, was a civil rights leader. And I know many people would attribute Tupac Shakur as being a civil rights leader. I just wonder, it makes me wonder how different our culture would be, our history would be, if Tupac Shakur had been alive during the election when Obama became president. Would Obama have been president, or would it have been Tupac? Could you imagine if Tupac had been president? Never mind Donald Trump. We would be well on our way to a utopia. So, I want to continue hearing this. We're going to be over a little bit today. And I'm probably not going to interrupt the rest of this video.
And you understand? And we all know how hard it is, and it's not about if you good or you bad. So since it's not about if you good or you bad, we know that because he don't mean he was bad. Or don't mean he's a criminal, or don't mean he's crazy, or a drug addict, or none of that. It just means he don't got. And ain't it bad that you got can you imagine somebody having $32 million? $32 million, and this person has nothing, and you can sleep, you can still go to the movies and then these are the type of people that get humanitarian awards, millionaires. How can they be humanitarians by the fact that they millionaires and there's so many poor people shows how unhumane they are. You know what I'm saying? And that bugs me. Not saying that when I'm never going to be rich and I'm never, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying it's a struggle and I think everybody deserves. And I think there's a way to pay these people. I think there is a way. It just takes to be revolutionary. And it takes to do something out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that if we just said, okay, I got an idea. No more porno buildings. You know what I'm saying? Let's build houses. Or no more polo games. Let's build houses for poor people. You know what I'm saying? Or, look, okay, I know you're rich. I know you got $40 billion, but can you just keep it to one house? You only need one house. And if you only got 2 kids, can you just keep it to 2 rooms? I mean, why have 52 rooms and you know there's somebody with no room? It just don't make sense to me. It don't. And then these people celebrate Christmas. They got big trees, huge trees, all the little trimmings. Everybody got gifts, and then somebody's starving. And they're having a white Christmas. They're having a great Christmas, eggnog and the whole nine. That's not fair to me.
I mean, well said. And it's crazy because, like, he's not saying anything that any of us haven't said before. He just said it 33 years ago. And he was rich, he was famous, he had money, but he gave back. And there's nothing wrong with reaping the rewards of your hard work. He was a very talented, very successful rapper. Selling out shows, selling albums. Cassettes and CDs, maybe? I don't know if he was in the CD era. Doesn't matter. Tupac was very successful, but he also gave back every chance he could. That's all we're asking. Okay, fine. You're a billionaire because your company is a $1 trillion company, and you founded it, and you guided it to that success. Fundamentally, I don't care if you're a billionaire. Fundamentally, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that you're a billionaire at the expense of everyone fucking else. If you became a billionaire and you engaged in 50% profit sharing and on top of having a livable wage and you're still a billionaire, take it. That's earned at that point. You chose to pocket the remaining 50%. You gave 50% of all profits to your workforce. And the remaining 50% you took for yourself so you could be super rich. That's your entitlement. That's your goddamn company. Great. That's how things arguably should be in terms of a capitalist society, right? But the reality is, no billionaire has ever achieved their billions of dollars ethically. No millionaire has achieved their millions of dollars ethically. If an employee with their salary generates thousands of dollars in profit and you're not giving them half, then that's not ethical. Period. That's... So I work at Marzetti. Marzetti has 2,700 employees. Every employee generates or contributes to $160,000 in profit. You know how much bonuses we get at Marzetti? They don't even give us pizza parties. And you have to be submitted for hard work to be submitted into a raffle to maybe get a $20 gift card. And every single employee contributes to $160,000 in profit. The only way I would look at Marzetti as an ethical company is if they gave everybody an $80,000 check at the end of the year. And they don't. No company does. And that's the fucking problem with capitalism. Which is why, under Ronanism, people will own the means of production. They will own it. So, all of the profits belong to the people. And the state will manage industry, manage it, with the consent of the people. And the people will consent to a profit share, which will fund taxes and public works, right? Will fund public infrastructure and development, and this, that, and the other, right? And that number, in my opinion, should be 50%. 50% to develop the nation, 50% to go back into the products, into the pockets of the people who made the products. That's a tongue twister. And when you do that, you eliminate scarcity. You eliminate poverty outright. And that is the world we should be fighting for. So, on that note, I think we can wind down. I'll finish this donut. And I will basically say thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to the stream. Thank you for joining the channel. Appreciate you all. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we will talk about whatever fuckery has occurred in the United States between now and then. In the meantime, have a great weekend. This is your president, Samuel Ronan, out.